right there. And it's on its roof, and it's back on its wheels. 182,000 coins. Oh yeah, I'll just go down the roadway. I don't need we don't need roadways where we're going. Maybe only 82%. Oh God, 82% is still awful. What is happening? Oh, how far away is this ending? That is really out there. Okay, so let's bring up the engine, and we're gonna slow down the slingshot. Okay, that was not enough. We did not slow the slingshot down enough. On the plus side though, look at the bonus numbers. All right, I might need a different car for this. We need something sporty, something that hugs the road, something like this. All right, how well do you not destroy the skeletons of people around you? Let's try that. A lot of people coming on the on-ramp over here. Oh yeah, oh, this thing hugs really good. This is what we need. We just need even more speed because where's this gonna land at? How much further do I have to go? Pretty far. More engine, okay? Hugging it hard. Real strong, little bit of a jump, lots of air, and we're definitely seeing the ending better now. I just have to go even further. More engine. I'm probably gonna get this engine up to level 300. Look at the speed. Look at the distance. Look at the altitude. Like an unidentified flying object at this point. Oh, if I land on my roof, will I just slide over? Because I remember that none of these things have any friction on the roofs. So apparently this car does. Right, more engine. So it looks like what happens when you upgrade the engine is the car keeps its speed for longer on the road. What's funny is though, once we start getting all these levels up to 500, it won't be on the road that long. Okay, this is probably the fastest shot I've done so far. Remember, it keeps a lot of speed, so we're getting a ton of height, and now we're coming in for a legitimate landing, basically, like a plane. They land on the roof. Going straight for 300, we're there. This is gonna make it. I can feel it. Oh, I can see my house from here. Well, it might not be my house. I can see someone's house from here. I'm not really sure whose it is. I just roll on down to the winner's podium. Or you could totally run out of gas. So, I don't know if you just saw how much money I'm getting per run now. I went ahead and I grinded the bonus up. Oh God. Oh, the speed. Oh, the agility. I am just barely able to hug the road at this point with 300s in my slingshot and my engine, and somehow it is still not enough. This is the boss of levels here. Oh, I may have overshot this. I may have gone. Nope, never mind. This is a game of ridiculousness. I am almost spot on. Level 401. Oh my God. This is not how cars work. At this point, the speed that this car is taking those corners, I have overshot it now. Okay, so I wasn't sure if I could eventually overdo this, but I can. I guess when you're getting 1,000,000 coins per run, things can get out of hand very, very quickly. I'm coming in hot. I am breaking the atmosphere at this point. And touchdown, yes! Does it get harder? Oh, it's just a bonus area. I might as well claim some bonuses. The best part is the amount of money that you get, it can't even show it, the actual cash. So it just shows it's like 100,000, but it's like 1,000,000 per go. I could straight up just go for 5 at this point, I think. And big jump. Okay, this is gonna be an easy landing, no problem. I may have even overshot it a little bit. I wonder if I can roll this back. There, just land it, and then I'm still going. Oh, it's just carrying me at this point. It's like, at this point, momentum has no meaning to you, Gray. Just keep going. That was 2 million I just got there, if you saw the number move. All right, well, I said I was gonna get these up to 500s. 500, you know what? I'm gonna put them all at 502. 502. Do you wanna see what this does? Ready? Oh my God! Before I do this level for real, are you ready to see what level 600 gets you? I can't do 100 because it doesn't work anymore. Like here, look at, never mind, it totally works. Oh my God. Before this, it was just sending my car through the planet. Yay! Infinite distance. How am I gonna beat this? 15%? Okay, 15% looks pretty good. Oh wow, 15% is way too much. I'll only use hold on, can I do it? I can't go lower than 10%. So what I'm gonna do to try and beat this board is kind of ricochet it off to the side, and maybe I can land it, or I can hit one of the cars. Okay, I hit a car. Oh, that's definitely the way to do it. If you hit a car, I can almost land it. So in order for me to win this, I have to murder someone. There it is. That was the perfect head-on collision. Just arc over to the side. Yes! These are the last few boards. Okay, so this one required easily into the double digits of power. So for this one, we'll do 24%. Let's see what 24% gets us. Oh, I may have called it. Like first try. Look at this. Look at this. Roll. Keep rolling. Okay, maybe 26%. 25. There. Oh, 25 is very, very doable. Oh, wow. Actually, the car kept on the roadway way too good. Okay, that was 23. And it is going to rub its roof, which is nice. And then I think I might be able to slide it? No, not quite. This is 23. Oh, that car just helped me out. That car just helped me out big time. Just keep rolling. Ah, 24. This is 24. Somewhere between 24 and 25. But the problem is I may have to increase my levels. 25. A little flip. There it is. 25. Got it with an extra barrel roll off the car. Off the other pedestrian traffic. And is this gonna be it? And we have a winner! Yes! Well, I used a slingshot to go around the world at 1 million times light speed. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed this episode of Slingshot Stunt Driver. Till next time, stay foxy, much love. Alright, we're checking out the only game where every time I crash, my life gets 1,000 times worse. It's GTA. Welcome to an insane challenge board with an even worse twist than I can possibly imagine. Each time my car hits something and I crash, the gravity is going to increase. With each section I complete, the gravity increases more and more. Alex has given me all these cars and a gigantic amount of challenges, so let's do this. Welcome to my worst nightmare. Gravity force 40. So how this works is once I pass this dish, every time I crash, the gravity will increase on my bus for a short period of time. Now, in order to let me know that the gravity has increased, Alex has put together a little sound effect, and then eventually the gravity goes back to normal, allowing me to continue. Oh God, not again. As you can see, this makes completing the board almost impossible. So what I have to do is somehow make it through this gigantic... Does that count, Alex? Apparently that counts. So almost anything that touches my car triggers the script, and then, oh no, and then the gravity increases a couple of seconds afterward. So right now, and just in the beginning, I have to figure out how to get up there. Now there appears to be, ramp cars coming at me, so I assume I can ramp a ramp car. It takes a couple of seconds for the gravity to kick in, and that should buy me enough time to go up. Yeah, so like I jump in the air, gravity kicks in a couple seconds later, and hopefully I can make the distance to get to the next level. I can't even run over stuff on the ground or the script triggers. Nah, I can't even get back to the part where I can change my car out. All right, I want to give this thing one more try, just to say I did it. Oh my God, don't touch the phone booth or whatever that is. No, not today, Satan. No, it shot me backwards. On the plus side, I got to stick the landing, which is pretty awesome. Driving this thing with extra gravity is an absolute nightmare. I can't even lightly bump another vehicle or the gravity increases. I love how there's like a little memorial right here of whoever died trying to cross the street. I'm not dying trying to cross the street. I'm dying just trying to get down the street. Oh, big dodge. Big dodge. Oh, I'm so dead right now. I'm not gonna lie, this was a terrible idea. Just let me fall to my death. All right, we're picking something with a little bit more control and a little bit more bounce. This looks like it can also take more damage. Okay, so once I leave this, now the script is enabled. So if I hit something like that, I'm going to end up dealing with gravity. Now, how does this do with gravity? I think it does pretty good. I'm surprised the axle is still in one piece. Oh God, no.
The problem is I have to time when the ramp cars jump out right there, but I need to be going forward. On the plus side, my car has a giant fist on the front of it, so someone else gets to feel my pain while I slowly get pancaked. Metallic pancakes. Does that count if I touch the... Yep, apparently it does. Yeah, 24 hours. 24 hours of agony. I love how there's just some random policewoman trying to walk across the street. And then, watch this motorcyclist. Man, it is dangerous to be anyone on this roadway that Alex made. All right, let's do this. Yeah, the middle one is definitely the best. I just need to time it right. I need more speed. You ready? Here we... Oh, here we go, here we go. Yes! Yes! Oh, finally. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, come on. No, I was right there. Gravity pulled me down. I got hit by like a motor. No, my car's on fire. It's finally taken so much damage from the gravity that it's on fire. The engine's blown. Well, that's two bad choices in the span of about... I almost died just then. You know what? Sure. All right, I want to give this thing... Oh, no. I was gonna say, I want to give this thing one more... It's so wide. I need, like, a smaller car. Because the problem is it's so easy for anything to hit this. It's like back... Oh, no. It's like using a beluga whale to backhand the side of a barn or something. It's just unfairly... It's an unfairly... There we go. Yes, that's got it. And I got good distance on that one. Finally, I made it to this level. I never thought I would get there. Now it's just a matter of whether or not I can keep this thing alive long enough to see what the next challenge is. Okay, so now we have a... Oh god, this road's even worse than the first one. Okay, so we have a busy crosswalk with a few people walking. Oh, there's like a gigantic 18-wheeler. Then we have a random cop going across the road, couple of motorists that are complete psychopaths. Dude on a motorcycle! No! I just barely clipped some human being, and now I get to experience the gravity of Jupiter. Wonderful. Up, got the back tire. I knew that was coming. This cop has no idea what he wants to do. He's just okay, that spawned on top of me. That shouldn't even count. Oh, God. Oh, what is this? Bad day for parachuting, gravity force 50. So I have to use this jump, but it looks like... What I was trying to say is it looks like anytime I hit anything, the gravity increases. So he put a little barrier in front of this jump, so I have to... I'm dead right now. I'm so dead. So I feel like an idiot. Alex actually put the jump on these cars, like these ones. I never really thought to check. I really didn't think he would give it to me. But yes, I have had a jump the whole time. So does me landing after the jump count as a crash? It doesn't. Okay, that's going to count. That's a double crash. In fact, I just brought that lady's body with me. Now you'll notice she is totally fine. You may have seen a... See, she just got up. I told you she's fine. You may have seen a very large splatter behind her. Now I'm just messing things up for myself. That's because she was carrying 75 packets of ketchup in her back pocket. Okay, that's what that was. Now that I know that I have a jump, I just have to... kind of worm my way through this, stick the jump. Oh no, I hit the sign. And that counts as a crash. Back to the beginning. Making it past this traffic signal. Oh my, oh, the gravity just saved me. The gravity just saved me. I was totally going off the side and oh, not today. I was totally going off the side. So I need to jump this and then run into this, but it's fine if the gravity hits me now because I'm far enough on the plate. So now we're at gravity level 50. Are those just human bodies falling? Oh my God. It's like a downpour of humans. Very normal day in the Gray Still Plays land. Oh, it's like a little bit of a... No. Okay. I was gonna say... Ah! Oh boy. You know what I wouldn't give for a checkpoint? So humans are falling. We got a little bit of a tilt wall ride here. It's not a true wall ride. It's just kind of a tilt. So what happens is the humans, no! I think we're gonna try a new car. We're gonna try something a lot smaller. I decided to go with almost the smallest thing here, and it can also jump. Go, number 69. Uh-oh, gravity is trying to drag me to my death. Oh yeah. Oh, it is so nice being this small. The only problem is the traction on this thing is, wow, what was that? Oh God! Alex, how did you program these cars? Their traffic pattern doesn't make, oh my God! Their traffic big dodge. Their traffic pattern doesn't make any sense at all. And jump. Perfect. And I don't hit anything. All right, we're just gonna speed through this. We're gonna speed right through this. Through all the humans. Boom. Bang. Look at this. Watch this. Oh! Oh no, the traction! It is kind of true though. The car does a lot of things really good, but it does not stick to the road. So if I turn while I'm on this while I'm on this kind of semi-corner wall ride, yeah, I start to skid off the roadway. But that's a problem because I also can't just sit around. Otherwise, the precipitating Florida men, what is going on with this guy? Oh my glitchy mess. The precipitating Florida men are gonna end up hitting my car. Okay, I made it someplace that's good. This is fine. Now I can survive. Now if gravity hits me, it really doesn't matter. So we have, oh, those are big gaps. Oh, those are really big gaps. So if gravity does hit me, I need to make sure that I'm not over one of these gaps when it does. So I just have to time this, and it's pretty easy to time. All right, except for that one. Ow. Oh, no, I got sucked into... I got sucked down the drain. This is what it's like getting flushed down the toilet of life. Wonderful. The mommy car has a history of success. All you have to do is divorce yourself from reality. The same way the mommy car has divorced itself. Oh yeah, look at that. First try. Big barrel roll, sticks the landing. Oh my God, this thing takes a lot of damage. One hit. The rear axle is broken, no! One hit from gravity and this thing is almost done. No, not the corner panel. Look at what happens now. All right, we're fine. We've got 3 working wheels, and I mean, that is 75% of the normal insanity. See, things are just worse if I have all the working wheels. Jump, but you hit the barrier, then the gravity hits, and it shucks me right off the side of the board, and now I'm dead. If I manage to beat this board with this car, I deserve a medal. I would say, but realistically, all I'm doing is cooking. I am broiling alive. Actually, I'm setting everyone around me on fire. Oh, now I'm just burning. Now the car is blown up. Now I'm flying through the air violently. A beautiful landing, and I'm flying again. We're picking a different car. I like that he put grays on the license plate, because yes, this is a lot like my side-by-side. Just like my side-by-side. I have spectacular driving skill. Oh, he almost kicked a field goal. He almost kicked that one motorcyclist like a field goal and murdered me. Oh no! Now, luckily, the shocks on this thing are really good. So I should be able to keep all of my wheels, I believe. I was gonna say, I should be able to keep all of my shocks, I believe. Oh my God, I'm getting hit from behind as well. Oh yeah, this is why you always upgrade to the Fox shocks. No? Yes. Here we go. Okay, so oh, the barrier's gone, so I don't even have to take damage from this. So just line up much distance as possible, and we're gonna have a nice jump. And I missed the other sign. Fantastic. So no gravity there. Go around all of the Florida, the falling kin of mine. Oh no. No. Back to the beginning. Oh yeah, I'm doing good. This is probably one of my best runs yet. I haven't been bludgeoned by a single human being. You know, just a normal part of the channel. Oh yeah. Oh, this is happening. This is happening right now. Just don't hit any of the violent candy canes. No. Yes. Yes. I just came unbelievably close to death. So now we have another, what is this? Is this like military exercises, but they didn't give anyone a parachute? Look at them, they're just falling to their death. All right, so on the side of the license plates here, oh, there's a parachute just in the middle of nowhere. Oh, what? Is that someone, like the bug splatted on the windshield? Oh, now they're hitting the side. Now they're hitting the panels. Okay. Oh, things are getting real. Do not want to get any humans caught inside of the wheel well. First try. Look at that. Perfect. And now we are, oh, here we go. Now we are on gravity force 60. Right is left, up is down. Oh, it's like teleporting thumbnail holes. Okay, this shouldn't be that bad because I'm not falling off of the challenge. Yeah, so even if I hit this, it's just gonna hurt now. But as long as my car can take the damage, it's fine. Are these breakaway floors? Alex, did you seriously? Oh, it helps you to get through. That's amazing. That's so great. See, I wasn't small enough to get through there, but because I got hit through the, oh no! Oh, the gravity pushes you to the floor. Nah! New car. You may say to yourself,
Great, the next time you showed the vehicle, it was on fire.
I know. That's pretty much this board in a nutshell. Through the ramp cars. No problem. Through all of the pedestrians. That guy just got absolutely murdered by that 18-wheeler. And this cop car is breakdancing. It's not even driving. Oh, the barrier's back. All right, so the barrier does regenerate. I think I just popped a tire. Oh, we're doing great. We are doing great. Look at this. This is oh no. I wanted something even faster. Watch this. Oh my God, the height. Oh, the paneling flies off of this thing really easy too. I guess it's a great way to shed weight. Oh no. Oh, stop it. Stop it. I can do this. I just barely missed it. This supercar takes damage almost as fast as Mom's car. It Luckily, this stay in lane sign broke my fall and my ribs. All right, we're doing good. This run's looking good. Now, you may notice that I'm missing a bit of glass. Yes, that is true. But the car is not on fire, and that is a massive boon right now. But this hasn't regenerated, so as long as we... Oh, well, I hit that. And now I'm going to hurt. This is a new personal best in this car. New personal best. Look at the speed. Look at this. We're going to get past all of the... Oh, no. Well, actually, I should be fine. Do not suck me down. Yes! I can't believe it. Somehow it kind of flipped me like a pancake over to the other side. Oh, this is the most violent version of Iron Chef that was... Did I hit that parachute? Okay, I've gotten all the way here, and the car is still looking pretty good. Oh, yeah, look at it. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, there goes the door. And there goes my soul. Oh, luckily, the water put out the fire. So now instead of burning alive, I'm just drowning. I'm not gonna lie. If I get some sort of... Did that count? Did that hit my wheels? Okay, it didn't count. If I get some sort of mutant power, like some sort of evolution, like X-Man style, from all this, it's going to be flame resistance, 100%. I have never burned so much in one board of GTA challenges than I have here. Now we're doing good. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yes. I haven't touched a single thing yet. Yes. Okay, patience, Greg, patience. Do not let your side view mirrors touch the wall because that would be unbelievably bad. Can I squeak around this? Oh. I just need a little bit of space. Oh yeah, I got plenty of space. It's fine. I can do this without touching anything. This is like playing Operation, except instead of killing the patient, it's killing me. All right, so you do have to jump here. That's a... Ooh, I think my tires must have caught the bottom of the... No! Let me tell you about falling to my death. I am an absolute pro at it. And you may be saying to yourself,
Right.
Looks like you're having a really good run.
Yep, I sure am. All of my cars in one piece. No, why? I'd be doing so much better if I was not allergic to patience. Oh, slow gray. Good. There you go. I'm pretty sure I just touched the wall. Oh. Sweet Taylor Swift. I hate my life. We're picking a new car. Well, I shouldn't say car. I'm picking this. This is the smallest, most nimble thing there is. And if it matters, its natural weight is very light. So maybe the increase in gravity just won't impact it as much. You know, I kind of like this thing. There we go. Just kind of slow down before you hit the ramp so you don't end up hitting the sign, taking no undue damage. You'll notice that, really, I've minimized the damage to the vehicles at this point. Oh, man. Just kind of by just kind of by knowing how to get from one platform to the next and doing it without hitting anything. Except for the ramp car. I basically have to run into a ramp car to get from one transition to the other. But here we go. Look at this. Didn't hit a single human being, and to me, that's a big deal, okay? I know not murdering another person shouldn't be that hard of a thing to complete in your life, but for me, it's quite the achievement. Okay, so I'm just gonna let the gravity pull me through here, no problem. My four-wheeler is so narrow that getting through, I can actually go around this. Getting through all these watch this, right between. Getting through all these challenges is very easy. So this part I shouldn't have any issue with. All right, past the little tilt-a-whirls, go on the side, I gotta do a little jump here. There we go. Now I have to go under this and crouch under this, no big deal. Oh yeah, oh this is happening. Big jump, nice landing, through, another jump. Oh, it's like Tetris, except I'm doing No, okay. As long as I'm not near the edge. Yeah, see how it kind of pulls you to the edge? As long as I'm not right on the edge, I think I'll be okay. How am I gonna get past this thumbnail hole? I have no idea what speed I need to do to get past this. And it looks like there's breakaway floors right after it. All right, here's the plan. I'm gonna try and get as much speed as possible. And my goal is, I'm gonna try hold on, let me just do this. Oh my God, that's the right choice. You know what? Another thumbnail hole. Yes! Yes! Oh, I got a checkpoint! That's a checkpoint! I got a checkpoint! Yes! Oh, wow. I am doing amazing right now. I'm almost going to make it up this hill without getting hit by a single rock. Ah! No! It's okay. I got the checkpoint. I'm happy. This is called Gravity Force 69 because, of course, it is uphill both ways. Okay, so we have to deal with a landslide of rocks being shoved down by some kind of blender up there. That's great. All right, so as long as I kind of understand, there's no rhyme or reason to how they fall. You have to just guess because every once in a while they take like a weird hop. Yeah, look. That touched me. So now I'm gonna get thrown down this thing, but because there's a bit of a decline, it does absorb a lot of the gravity. So I don't take a lot of damage going up this. Well, I do take a lot of damage, but it's all psychological damage. I don't take a lot of vehicular damage going up this if I fail it. Ooh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna just nice and slowly, nice and smoothly. What is that? Another rock on the backside. Come on, man. I hate you, Alex. Basically I had won that, and then you screwed me over. Okay, we're doing this in one shot. Ready? Oh yeah. Kind of middle, over to the right, middle. Okay, big jump. And that allows me to clear all the forks. Look behind me because I'll end up getting brained by some kind of rock. And we have a winner! Yes! Well, I learned about gravity today, and it was awful. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed this episode of GTA. Until the next time, stay foxy and much love.
Not okay. And when we come back, we're...
Greetings, jerks.
Boy, oh boy, don't you all look eager today with your gaping mouths all tonguing the air, desperate for a few drops of my news? Well, get ready, schmucks, because here's some news. I am really sorry about coming in so hot just now. Just to level with you, I recently came into a bunch of money, and I guess I'm just feeling a tad bit cocky, you know? It's kind of wild how just a little bit of wealth does that. Like, I spat on my neighbor's cat this morning. Don't worry, the cat loved it, but this got me thinking. Hey now, have you ever noticed that rich people seem to be a little off? And no, I'm not just talking about this guy. I mean, I'm kind of talking about that guy, but not just that guy. Because the Duke of Interesting Looking Into It isn't the only rich person who has taken the word eccentric to an extremely unsettling level. And not just one or two of them, but most rich people, regardless of their political views or occupation. Everything from Peter Thiel wanting to build his own floating libertarian island to Gwyneth Paltrow justifying the sale of psychic vampire repellent. Nearly every time a rich person shares their daily schedule or personal diet, it reads like an alien terrorist's manifesto. There are entire industries like pet cloning that exist because of weird rich people. Or just look at any auction where something like John Lennon's tooth or a banana taped to a wall sells for way more money than it's worth. Or heck, just look at everything Nicolas Cage has purchased. Sometimes people like to credit their behavior to being geniuses, but I think most of us realize that's not the case. Because it doesn't matter who the rich person is, they inevitably say or do something super messed up. And they've been doing it since forever. It's said that Henry Ford ate literal grass sandwiches. There's a terrible horror movie based on the time a rich widow built a funhouse to hide from ghosts. Just look up any history on old nobility. You'll crack open a piñata of brain spiders. And of course, this is why we have the extremely old trope of the bizarre, often evil rich person. Charles Foster Kane, Mr. Fishoder, any Bond villain, Scrooge, or Scrooge's Animorph duck form. That fucking dragon literally sitting on gold in The Hobbit. Christian Grey, Mr. Burns, of course. And don't you sit there and tell me that Bruce Wayne isn't a messed up guy. But none of that would really matter, except these same people also hold a huge amount of political power because they're not the fictional characters, they're real people. They influence the politicians that make our laws. They own the companies we work for and control the industries we need to provide us with essential living standards. And so, as a newly rich person myself, I think this concerns me even more. What can I do to avoid becoming a villain? Spit on fewer cats? Spit on the same number of cats, but less? Bah! Not gonna happen. Sorry. Anyway, today we ask an important question to which you already know the answer. Are rich people okay? Seriously now, are they? If only they were just playful eccentrics, a well-dressed, foppish monocle wearer, perhaps an anthropomorphic legume. But there's a lot of evidence out there that the wealthier you get, the less likely you are to find common ground with your fellow human beings. Which could suggest that maybe they shouldn't have any power over their fellow human beings. To put it simply, rich people can be real fucked up, gnarled dicks. They tend to be worse tippers, though they self-report being better tippers. They gave less of their money to charitable causes during the Great Recession than others. They have a tendency to assume they can skirt around the law or get away with not paying people for services. The greater the income inequality where they live, the less likely they are to be generous and giving. I could go on. So I will. One study found that drivers of more expensive cars were less likely than others to stop for pedestrians at crosswalks, and were generally just more reckless as drivers. And here's a story that they were more likely than non-rich people to take candy that they were specifically told would otherwise go to children. Yes, literally, Mr. Burns.
They said drop it.
Those are just studies, mind you. Science trash. Who needs it? Patooey! Take that, you cat! But there are loads of examples of rich people proving them right. For example, paying hefty sums and bribes to make sure their children can get accepted to elite universities. often with fake test scores or as fake athletic recruits. That's right, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, a light is waiting to give a $500,000 bribe from your semi-famous mom. The ringleader of that scheme said he helped 750 wealthy families get their kids into college, mostly for kids that wouldn't have been accepted otherwise, and some of whom didn't want to go at all. There's another discussion to be had about the actual value of attending elite universities, but those are 750 plus spots that could have gone to students who actually worked for that opportunity, or don't have that opportunity, or at the very least, wanted to go. And not only does it dissolve any notion that our society is a meritocracy, but it shows that wealthy people truly think they deserve things because they are wealthy and don't care about how their actions impact others. You might recall that news story where a rich teenager drove drunk and killed 4 people before his lawyers said he had affluenza, which is apparently a psychological condition from being raised in wealth and privilege. That term was dismissed as pseudoscientific and having no basis in psychology. But as it turns out, science does have a lot to say about how being wealthy alters the way you think. Or, as this news scientist will editorialize, fucks up your brain. There are statistics showing that rich kids are more likely to experience substance abuse, and just as likely as poor kids to commit crimes. As adults, they will also drink much more often and recklessly than most. But what's unique is that the crimes they commit are wildly different. While poorer kids in the inner city tend to get busted for things like carrying weapons, often for self-defense reasons, rich kids mainly get in trouble for stealing from their peers and parents. I'm not saying that poor people can't also steal from their parents, and if you're poor and watching, you have my permission. But the differences are interesting in that rich people seem to commit crimes that they either think they'll get away with or just don't care if they do. Often it shows a disrespect for their immediate surroundings, stealing from the people directly around them, or, of course, massive tax evasion, or the fact that rich people are more likely to say they drive over the speed limit. After all, what do they care if the penalty is a fine? That's probably why there's at least one study showing that rich people actually tend to shoplift more than non-rich folk. There's often an inherent disregard for others on a massive scale. For example, the endless stories of wealthy homeowners who've tried to illegally block access to public beaches near their homes. You know, because those public beaches are theirs now, I guess. No looky-loos!
The owner of this home on Pacific Coast Highway has been fined $4.2 million for intentionally blocking access to the beach.
And that was a compounded penalty over many years of not complying.
The public on a public beach? Yuckies! Patooey! I wish everything was a cat that I could spit on. And while the homeowners may have legitimate gripes about litter or noise, it's the goddamn motherfucking beach. You decided to buy a house there, my fellow rich person. You can't build yourself a house next to Central Park and then get upset when you go outside and see old men playing chess, even if it's Magneto. California's earliest state laws said the area between the water line and the mean high tide line is public. So you can't block access to it or keep it all to yourself, even if you own the area surrounding it. Voters enshrined that into the state constitution in 1972. But that hasn't stopped people from putting up phony no trespassing signs or even hiring private security guards to try and kick people out. Here's a story about one rich dip who bought 89 acres of land near San Francisco for $30 million and then locked the public access gate to the local beach. He even posted security guards and signs that read, "Beach closed, keep out." And the fight over that beach has continued for more than a decade, leading the State Coastal Commission to sue in 2020. They're demanding that the rich dip either apply for a permit to change access to that beach or open that road and charge no more than $2 for parking. But the wild part, he doesn't even give a shit. He said he regrets buying the property and hasn't spent a single night there, and that he's only waging a decades-long legal battle on principle since he doesn't want to be forced to run an unprofitable parking business. He doesn't even want to win. In 2018, he told the New York Times, quote, "If I were to ever win in the Supreme Court, I'd be depressed about it. I support the Coastal Act. I don't want to weaken it by winning, but property rights are even more important? So, just to recap, this rich dip purchased a bunch of land around a public beach, closed the road access to that beach, doesn't use the property he bought, and is acting really put upon by all the people telling him he can't just close a public beach, but also thinks it would be bad if he won his battle to close down the public beach. And I don't know, but I think maybe it's a therapist you need instead of a lawyer. But I can't stress enough how not a fluke this one story is. If you combined all the public land in America that's currently inaccessible because it's surrounded by private property, it would be the size of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Connecticut put together. At 15 million acres, that would make it the largest national park in the country. We'd call it Grand Prick National Park, or Dildo Stone, or Dildosimity, whatever you want to call it like that. The wealthy are buying up huge chunks of America to keep the public out and further isolate themselves. And the more resources they have, the more they tend to take. Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, who's worth more than $100 billion, bought the 6th largest Hawaiian island, and then immediately started making life for the island's 3,000 inhabitants absolutely miserable. He now gives most small businesses only 30-day commercial leases, and forced many generations-long locals to leave after cutting off their revenue streams. Essentially, if you still live there, Ellison is likely both your boss and your landlord. Something to look forward to for all you Texas residents and Tesla employees. And that's kind of on par for the ultra-rich, to use a golf metaphor they'll understand. To quote Brooke Harrington, a sociologist who studied for years as a wealth manager, the lives of the richest people in the world are so different from those of the rest of us, it's almost literally unimaginable. National borders are nothing to them. They might as well not exist. The laws are nothing to them. They might as well not exist. One wealth manager told her that the ultra-rich believe that they are descended from the pharaohs and that they were destined to inherit the earth. I mean, pharaohs were also pieces of shit, so that actually might check out. And of course, none of what you're hearing is surprising. Again, behavior like this is why we have all those rich people stereotypes. I may be a rich guy now, but I still remember what it meant to be poor, and to know that the wealthy are a leech on our society. And yet, quite ironically, we've also designed this system to give them the most power, and therefore allowed them to get away with the most crimes. Huge systemic crimes. Crimes we haven't even talked about, like how companies can just steal from their employees and get away with it. In 2017, and in just California, wage theft totaled to over $320 million. Nationally, that number is $8 billion. Compare that to shoplifting or robbery losses, and you have to wonder why the nightly news is not constantly covering the massive epidemic of rich bosses stealing from their employees. But again, we know this. So the question really isn't, are rich people okay? But actually, why are rich people not okay? And when we come back, we're going to look into that answer. I need to know, like really bad. After all, I'm rich now. See? Trust your eyes, folks. That is an actual Beanie Baby. Last time I saw one of these, everyone was scrambling for them because they'd be worth millions in the future. And they said that in the past, making now the future. And would the past lie? I think not. Found this one in some idiot's stroller, just sitting there between two fleshy arm-like things. Like, I know I say that money is fake all the time, which is why I don't really pay attention to how much things cost or my own finances, but this has to be, like, worth a lot. Someone needs to make a movie about this find. My life is going to change starting now. Well, at least until after this ad break. Ad breaks. Why do I even need them? I'm rich! Hello, sweet consumers. I'm Cody, and I want to tell you about AG1 by Athletic Greens. It's a vitamin drink for your mouth. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted to stay strong and healthy so I could fight ghosts. You know how sometimes you hear weird noises in your walls at night and a bunch of your stuff goes missing? Those are called ghost thieves, and they're no laughing matter. I take AG1 because I don't always have time to eat a full meal when I'm staying up late protecting my belongings. It takes everything you'd get in a multivitamin and puts it all in one drink. This a drinka. Capsule devoured. Yeah, a little more. Capsule devoured. Excellent. Yummers! It comes with this cool travel cup so you can drink AG1 even when you're walking the perimeter of your home with a flashlight and a vial of holy water. Heaven is filled with stolen goods, you know? Don't trust the dead. So if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/more news. That's athleticgreens.com/more news. Protect your belongings from ghosts with this vitamin drink and stuff.
Hello, beautiful money haver. I'm Katie, and I want to tell you about ExpressVPN. You know, ever since I watched the films Parasite and Inside Man, I've become obsessed with sneaking into people's homes and hiding in their walls and taking their stuff. There's no law against it. Sadly, Netflix doesn't carry those 2 movies unless you live in the UK, but unsadly, I use ExpressVPN to change where Netflix and other streaming services think I'm located. That way I can be inspired by way more movies and shows where people hide in walls. Sometimes I make ghost sounds while in the walls. Ever see The Black Phone? You can watch it on Netflix if you're in Canada. Or, if you have ExpressVPN, they have access to servers in 94 different countries, plus blazing fast streaming speeds, and it even works on all your devices. So get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/more news. Don't forget to use my link at expressvpn.com/more news to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN free, you little creeper.
Hey, we're back. Gonna just put this beanie baby away. Don't want anyone to steal it before I get it to an appraiser. Anyway, money. It's a gas. In that it makes people explode. After all, if you recall from before the ads, it's very clear that having money doesn't make you a model citizen. And it's not hard to speculate why. People with lots of money exert more political control, own more stuff, and generally have an easier time going about their day, giving them more material and institutional power than those who don't. And that power dynamic is what seems to melt the rich person brain like a Kraft single in a microwave, a simile that a rich person would not understand. For starters, one 2009 study found that people with a lot of wealth and power tend to think they have more personal control over life outcomes than they really do, even when the outcome is completely random. The researchers asked a variety of people to predict a dice roll, but found that people in high power positions uniformly wanted to roll the dice themselves instead of letting someone else do it for them. People in neutral or low power positions were more likely to be okay letting someone else roll the dice because it's a dice roll, and unless you're Danny Ocean, you can't influence what happens. Essentially, being rich and powerful leads you to overestimate your own abilities, even in things that are 100% based on luck or random chance. Since these people credit themselves with high performance, it's only natural that they think that their own special touch is going to be more valuable than that of others. It's why they deny other people's lived experiences that conflict with their own viewpoints. After all, they have all the money, so they must be right. Another study from 2019 confirmed this result. People from higher social classes were more likely to express overconfidence in their performance in a series of basic cognitive tests, even though they performed at about the same level as everyone else. But what's really wild, and kind of explains a lot about certain, let's call them suck-ups to, let's call him Elon Musk, is that independent observers in that study also rated those people as more competent than others, despite knowing that they didn't perform any better in the tests. Their overconfidence was seen as evidence of competence to the observers, and so, as the researchers speculated, this attitude might be partially why the rich tend to stay that way. In other words, this money disease also affects people without money. who see rich people as somehow more deserving of their status. Way to victim blame peer-reviewed study by the American Psychological Association? At any rate, it's this overconfidence and disregard for the help of others that leads to narcissistic and antisocial behavior.
In one of the games, we actually rigged a computer so that die rolls over a certain score were impossible. You couldn't get above 12 in this game. And yet, the richer you were, the more likely you were to cheat in this game to earn credits toward a $50 cash prize, sometimes by 3 to 4 times as much.
Wow, a TED Talk? How quaint. That's Paul Piff, cool name haver, and a psychological science researcher who's behind a few of the studies we're talking about in this episode. Mr. PP has highlighted some of the more negative tendencies of the wealthy in his research. Specifically, that people with lots of money and high social status are more likely to cheat, exhibit unethical behavior in business, and lie in negotiations. They have a great ability to morally justify those unethical decisions in their own minds. Piff argues that wealthy people simply have fewer constraints that would hinder their ability to act this way, and that their isolation from others makes it so they don't have to think about the consequences of their actions. They've literally been able to buy their way out of having to worry about what other people think. In one experiment where Piff gave individuals $10 and asked them how much they'd like to share with a total stranger, poor people gave an average of 44% more than the affluent. When those poor people picture a stranger, they're probably thinking about someone like them, also known as someone who could also use the money. But when rich people picture a stranger, they aren't thinking about a gross poor person at all. They're much more likely picturing one of their peers, some fucking rich person, possibly wearing a top hat and orgy mask. And that perverted freak certainly doesn't need that $10. And this ungenerous behavior is a big symptom of social isolation. Further research bears this out. A 2016 study found that wealthier people literally look at other people less often while walking down the street, and perhaps as a result, have a harder time identifying changes in facial expressions in photos. The researchers say that the faces of others hold less motivational relevance among the wealthy, which is a nice academic way of saying that you don't fucking matter to them because they don't value you. It's almost as if, in their eyes, the rest of us are, what could the term be? What do they see as that? What would it be? It would be non-playable characters in a video game. That seems like the kind of view a person who perhaps shouldn't be in charge of a social media company would have. Oh, also, speaking of divorced guys obsessed with Twitter, rich people are fucking miserable. I know it's hard to care much, but it's important to note that despite being overconfident narcissists who, again, literally steal candy from babies, they aren't actually happy at all. The old adage that money can't buy you happiness is, let's say, a little true, because if you're poor and don't have your basic needs met, money will absolutely buy happiness. But after a certain point, that money does stop helping. One study from Purdue University estimated this level to be around $95,000 a year. But above that, more money tends to equal less life satisfaction. I'm honestly not sure how accurate that is or if there's a quantifiable number here. But you get the general idea. It's not really that money buys happiness. It's that money removes stressors of survival that cause unhappiness. There is a point for everyone where the money to happy ratio levels out. It's of course hard to imagine because the people often pointing this out are, rich.
I thought that success was all I needed. That's what was gonna bring the happiness. Buying my mom a house, when those things came, the happiness wasn't there.
Thank you, fellow rich person J. Cole. Achieving a high level of wealth or status does a couple of things to the human brain that cause less happiness. That social isolation we mentioned earlier doesn't just lead to a lack of compassion and empathy for others, but it also isolates them from their own community. Rich people overall spend less time socializing than lower income people, but when they do, they have to hang out with other rich people, which sounds honestly terrible. Like, imagine having to play Codenames with this guy. And just like you and your friends competing over who's better at video games or who can fit the most bottle caps in their mouth, this creates a feedback loop of rich people only comparing themselves to other rich people. It's why some of these depressing assholes have spent the last few decades competing to own the biggest yacht, or one imagines, trying to see who can fit the most golden bottle caps in their mouths. It's Warren Buffett, obviously. No better example is the recent article in The Cut about the Fleischman effect, named after the classic DC Comics character Fleischman. The Fleshman. It details the struggle of America's moderately affluent who don't feel quite rich enough. Quote, "Since leaving New York, Beth has found herself in tears at least once a week. She makes $300,000 a year, more than she's ever earned in her life, but she's running out of minutes in the day to squeeze out more dollars. How do I make the $700,000 that I'm going to need to send my daughter to private school, or do the renovation in the attic so I can turn it into the master suite, so I can have a tub, and so I can have one thing I enjoy in my life?" she says. Not surprisingly, Beth isn't her real name. The people interviewed for that article seem to understand that complaining about their lives is like complaining about being given too much free weed at Coachella, or just being given too much free weed, period. But even all that free weed, or I guess an attic tub, won't make her any happier. Once people achieve a certain status, they become terrified of losing it and will expend way more effort trying to maintain their status. For example, I have already hired an armed guard to watch my Beanie Baby, and I will not sleep until that guard arrives. Don't think I can't feel all your coveting eyes. I feel them. They're pointed at the Beanie Baby. And so this might explain why rich people don't actually feel rich. Like how 35% of millionaires say that retirement is going to take a miracle, or why people who make six figures sometimes say that they're living paycheck to paycheck. Here's a fun eyesore from something called financialsamurai.com, attempting to explain why someone making $400,000 a year isn't actually wealthy. The rationale is that a higher earner in a big city doesn't have that much money left over after they buy all the things that rich people spend their money on. Fancy private schools, a $1.6 million house, one of them Squid Games tickets, and 3 vacations a year. It's hard to feel rich when you constantly have to spend all your money trying to be rich. It's funny how it's always the poor that are blamed for their spending choices, because it sure appears like the wealthy are terrible with their money. So weird and funny, that is. Ha 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 ha. In fact, overall, it seems that rich people can't help but develop these, let's call them symptoms. You overestimate your own abilities, think less about the feelings of others, get increasingly isolated, and yet you still want more. We can even circle back to that Paul Piff TED Talk to see how all these elements come together, quite perfectly, in a game of Monopoly rigged to favor one player over the other.
The rich player started to move around the board louder, literally smacking the board with their piece as he went around. We were more likely to see signs of dominance and nonverbal signs of displays of power and celebration among the rich players.
P-Dog brought in more than 100 strangers and then paired them off to play one-on-one. But in each group, one of the players was randomly selected to start with double the money, roll 2 dice instead of 1 per turn, and get twice as much every time they passed go. Monopoly, a socialist game intended to demonstrate the ills of capitalism, already makes for an insufferable afternoon under the normal rules. So as you would expect, this very quickly became a bloodbath, and the rich players acted accordingly. They became boastful, disregarding the feelings of the strangers sitting across from them, and even started taking more pretzels from a communal bowl placed on the table. After the game was over, the winners were asked why they thought they won, and incredibly, very few of them mentioned the coin flip. Instead, they talked about their own strategies, the shrewd moves they had made to buy properties and take control of the game. It's almost as if they had a sort of amnesia about the obvious head start they'd been given, maybe because acknowledging that would make them feel bad. We see this in more areas than just money, people getting downright offended at the accusation that they were given special treatment. And of course, one very specific industry comes to mind.
There is no prerequisite to be in this business. Hustle, talent, timing, hard work. Boom. And if you have the acumen of a film degree and a history of film. Does that help you? Of course. But it's not the requirement.
Hustle, talent, timing, hard work, boom! That's all it takes. And then secondarily, of course, the acumen of a film degree and a history of film. And maybe history of film is her reference to the fact that her mom was Janet Leigh and her father was Tony Curtis. Look, I take no pleasure in going after Jamie Lee Curtis. I like Jamie Lee Curtis. She was in Drowning Mona, for Pete's sake. And I'm told a lot of other films too. We have our researchers on it and will hopefully confirm soon. But come on. When she got her big break in Halloween, oh, see, they confirmed she was in other movies. When she got her big break in Halloween, the producer and co-writer specifically said that they cast her, at least in part, because her mom was in Psycho. They wanted the publicity, of course they did, and of course Jamie Lee would embrace that connection as well. Nobody is saying she's not talented and didn't work hard, but this is a great example of how the Monopoly study manifests in the real world. People have success and then convince themselves that it was almost exclusively their own talent and hard work, and they downplay the massive leg up they got by being the offspring of Hollywood royalty. She got to roll extra dice and got double the money, and you can tell it causes her anguish to acknowledge that, because she said that it does. And that's what the Monopoly experiment shows, that this can happen to anyone, even the star of the hit film Drowning Mona. That experiment has been recreated in several different contexts around the world, by the way, all with similar results. And so, again, this isn't a problem with rich people so much as like, with a species? It's not in their blood or anything. It's a problem that can affect anyone under the right conditions. If you get a lot of money and success, your world changes in a certain way that makes you lack empathy, become lonely, grow jealous of others, develop delusions about your own accomplishments, and lose so much impulse control and consequences that you will steal candy from a baby. You literally become Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, or I guess if you're a younger rich person, you become Hank Scorpio, a guy who pretends to care about his employees but really makes things all about himself, exploiting others to further his own diabolical plans, possibly flamethrower themed. Glad you made that connection too, Elon. Maybe it's bad that you are the villain in a TV cartoon. Very self-aware. As an aside, boy, The Simpsons really got rich people's numbers, huh? It really just nailed it. Anyway, we're going to get into the consequences of all of this after the ad break, because as we mentioned at the top of this video, not only are these people very troubled, but they also have a lot of influence over the world. And that seems dangerous. It's dangerous for people who clearly don't like other people to have influence over everybody's lives. And it seems like there's a really unhealthy cycle, perhaps a spiral, that makes it extremely hard to break this pattern. Rich people influence politics and run companies, which makes them richer. Poor people aspire to be rich, perhaps to change the system themselves, and if they actually got rich, they would just succumb to the system as well. I mean, except for me, who will not let my Beanie Baby wealth, which I earned, change me. I earned that, okay? My expert eyes spotted the Beanie Baby and dexterously liberated it from a stroller. You can't teach that in school. You have to learn it in the real world, on the streets, where you take the thing from the stroller. Anyway, ads first, then we'll talk more about my success. Hey, it's Cody from the show you're watching. I'm here to tell you about Next Evo Naturals. You know, life happens very fast. One moment you're creeping through your house, hunting ghost thieves, and then next thing you know, you're slipping on a bunch of marbles and then waking up hours later with your shoes missing and a bunch of your hair shaved off. With Next Evo's CBD products, I'm able to reduce my daily stress so I can actually sleep. And not just marble slipping sleep, real human sleep. Listen here, Mac. Only Next Evo uses Smart Zorb CBD, which they claim has 30 times better absorption than other CBD products. And between their triple action CBD sleep and stress CBD complex, they can handle a variety of needs. Heck, maybe they'll invent a CBD that helps fight ghosts that leave marbles in your kitchen and then steal your shoes and hair when you slip on it and hit your head on the sink. So upgrade your CBD. Go to nextevo.com/more news to get 20% off your first order of $40 or more. That's 20% off $40 or more at nextevo.com/more news.
Hello, it is me, Katie, a business genius. Along with this show you're watching, I run a little side hustle selling slightly used shoes and hair to weirdos on the internet. And thanks to a secret special technique I use to acquire my products, it's almost all profit. But I would be lying if I said it was all because of my hard work and ingenuity. I also use Stamps.com. They give you the ability to ship anything to anyone from anywhere. All you need is a computer and a printer and you are good to go. The hair is fear scented. I know, running a business isn't cheap. I mean, unless you're selling shoes and hair that you've acquired through secret special ways. Luckily, Stamps.com has huge carrier discounts, up to 84% off USPS and UPS rates. So set your business up for success when you get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code MORENEWS for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the little microphone guy at the top of the page and enter code MORENEWS.
Ooh, yeah, it's good. Yes. Oh, so good. Hi. Sorry, I'm just jotting down some notes for my future biography. I know most rich people get there due to a great deal of luck, but as one of the rare cases that actually earned my wealth, I figured it would be good to pass along my knowledge of it. If you hear crying from the stroller, don't worry, that is normal and good. So good. Okay, back to rich people and how their warped sensibilities have incredibly troubling consequences for the rest of us normals. This is most obvious in their political power and how they manipulate our laws to ensure they will stay rich at the expense of others. I know you already know this and you don't exactly need documentation to back it up, but here is a 2013 report about how the wealthiest 1% are much more politically involved and also much more conservative than most Americans, specifically when it comes to politics around taxes, regulations, and naturally, social welfare programs. Because they're rich, you see, and so they know what's best for the poors. The paper goes on to say that the top 0.1% of Americans are even more conservative than other rich people, and that this appears to be why their opinions tend to be vastly different from what most Americans want their government to do. We could spend the rest of this episode just on that dynamic, that policymakers are heavily influenced by the super wealthy. Probably because the policymakers themselves are largely members of that same group. But again, you already know this, because you're very smart and great with a sword, and we have more specific consequences of rich person behavior to dive into, like the fact that they consume way more than the rest of us, because of course they do. As of 2015, the wealthiest 10% were responsible for nearly half of the world's carbon emissions, and the top 1% emit more than twice as much carbon as the poorest half of humanity combined. The next time you feel shame for forgetting to bring your reusable bags to the grocery store, just look at an image of flight trackers after the Super Bowl. That's from 2018, and all those red lines are private jets. It was no different this year, as according to the FAA, more than 4,000 additional takeoffs and landings were expected in the Phoenix area. And of course, there's a pretty good chance that 2 of those jets belong to these guys. Not to give away anyone's assassination coordinates, of course, but this is why it's very frustrating to talk about mitigating climate change, because it is technically about personal responsibility, except some people's responsibility matters way more than others.
I think that we need to move away the focus from only individual action to a larger systemic action. Of course, we can't have system change without individual change, but still, as long as we focus on only people, for example, stop flying or becoming vegan, which is, of course, good things, but if we think that this is the way to do it, and we forget about those who are actually responsible for the climate crisis, like the multinational companies who are purposely destroying lives and livelihoods and the planet in order to maximize short-term profits. Those are the people that we need to go after.
The sad child is right! Climate activist Greta Thunberg no longer flies and has gone vegan in her personal life, but she recognizes that not all individual decisions are created equal. A manager at GameStop deciding not to fly isn't the same as, say, Elon Musk or Taylor Swift. And if corporations or the very wealthy don't do their part, then it matters way less what the rest of us do. Imagine you're on a life raft and have to consume food. and your companions were 3 children and also Galactus the Planet Eater. Yes, you should all try to conserve, but clearly one of you is the actual problem, and so it's only a matter of hours until you run out of those delicious kids. Elon supposedly thinks global warming is a major risk, but not enough to give up his private jet or to even let us see how often he's flying around in it. But in case you're wondering, his jet made 134 flights in 2022. And honestly, he's not even among the biggest offenders here. Private jets pollute 5 to 14 times more per passenger than commercial flying, and the industry is booming. Just between January and July of 2022, Taylor Swift's private jet flew 170 times. Please don't kill me! Okay, I think we're okay. A spokesperson for Swift didn't dispute the numbers, but said the pop star's plane gets loaned out regularly. So, okay, cool. Glad she's a fun friend, I guess. But no matter who is in the jet, it is still responsible for nearly 1,200 times the annual emissions of the average person. Oh God, please don't hurt me! They here? They're after me? Okay, well, maybe I'll hire a bodyguard in addition to the Beanie Baby guard. I don't know. And a jet, actually. Jets are so cool. I should order a jet. And I will. But consumption isn't the only issue. Remember that tweet of Elon saying he thought global warming was a major risk? Well, that was below his tweet where he said population collapse due to low birth rates is a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming. And, like, in what way, Musko? He doesn't give any support for this argument or propose a solution, but I certainly wouldn't want to believe that his decision to have so many children is because he thinks the world is underpopulated, except that's literally what he said, and he is absolutely not alone in this thinking.
That's right. This is a quiet but growing movement that's kind of taking off in these tech and VC circles, based on the idea that the human population is on the decline, and especially birth rates among certain groups. And it's their job to fix that by having lots and lots of children. Gross!
Also incorrect. Just to get this out of the way first, we here at the Shody are not anti-natalist. We may even be anti-natalist, in that we don't think climate change or like the state of the world are solid reasons to not have a kid. We're not pro-forced birth, and we're not pro-no birth. It, in fact, would be great if we made it easier and less expensive to raise a child. And if you can afford to raise a child and think you'd make good parents and it would be fulfilling, etc. and so forth, all that good stuff, go for it. People had kids during the Black Plague. It'll be tough, but it's okay. But even more to the point, population collapse isn't happening. It just isn't. While global birth rates have declined, that's because they were pretty fucking high previously. The human population is in no danger of disappearing. We're likely to cross 10 billion people in the next 60 years, and the population might decline after that, or might not. And if it does, it'll be because of increased access to contraception and greater educational attainment among women, things like that. And yet, despite this reality, the pro-natalist movement is a growing trend among the wealthy specifically, who appear to be leading by horrifying example. Tech elites Malcolm and Simone Collins, seen here trying to invite you into a Harry Potter-themed threesome, not only want to have as many children as possible, but want their offspring to commit to having at least 8 children each for 11 generations. If that happens, their bloodlines will eventually outnumber the current human population. And that's really fucking creepy, isn't it? Poor little Octavian, Torsten, and Titan Invictus, which are their fucking names, are too young to understand this, but they're apparently part of a breeding farm. They have no idea their parents have already loaned out their sperm and uteruses, uteri, baby sacs. And Lord help them if they grow up not wanting to fulfill their weird destiny. But of course, while their stated motivation is this myth of a declining population, it's important to note that these pro-natalists are only pro-reproduction for people like them. They might not explicitly say that, but for example, here's Elon Musk praising the opening of Idiocracy that, if you recall, imagines a world where evolution is, quote, dumbed down because only poor, non-intelligent people have kids. Musk had said in interviews that the 3 biggest indicators for having lots of children are poverty, lack of education, and religion. So, here are my a powerful capitalist who treats his workers poorly and views anyone who disagrees with you as a non-person, and who bought an information-sharing website, and who has out loud said he supports the party of religious zealotry and corporate greed, one can kind of see a pretty clear picture that he seems to want to have a bunch of secret, wealthy, super smart babies to lead the army of poor, religious, misinformed masses to shape the future as he sees fit. Just a little theory based on his words and actions. Anyway, here's another much more bizarre example of tech billionaire Mark Andreessen, who's blocked me on Twitter for some reason, I don't know why, warning that chatbots and VR waifus will mean that only the most aggressive men and women will breed and send us back to the Bronze Age. Because you know how the best and smartest people are the ones susceptible to fucking virtual waifus? Powerful insight, Mr. Andreessen. Only a truly great mind could be the co-founder of Netscape, the absolutely not the first web browser ever made. Funny how these people seem to think every invention before the internet was natural selection, and somehow only now are we screwing that up. And of course, there's another word for what these weird freaks are describing, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, based on the very simple definition of eugenics, which is manipulating the gene pool to promote superior characteristics, and I put that in quotation marks, that is their belief, that's what this is. And in fact, some of the people involved in these movements don't even deny that. They'll freely use the word eugenics.
Right. They may not say it publicly in so many words, but eugenics is absolutely what we're circling here. Musk and others like him are very dedicated to the idea that wealth is directly linked to IQ, and that it's more important than ever for rich people like him to have a lot of children. So weird how an IQ test developed by a bunch of racist and wealthy eugenicists would constantly result in a bunch of pro-eugenics conclusions. So darn weird. Why? Oh. But even if IQ tests were accurate, which they aren't, it's still not true that wealthy people have higher IQs. And so none of this aligns with Elon Musk's claim that he cares about the future of humanity, so much as it shows that he cares about the future of him-manity, and the future of certain other people. I'm not gonna call him a white nationalist, for legal reasons, but there's a simple through line from Musk encouraging rich people to procreate, to Viktor Orban's policies aimed at promoting growth of traditional families, to the Christchurch, New Zealand mass shooter starting his manifesto with, "It's the birth rates, it's the birth rates, it's the birth rates." Again, not saying that all rich people are Nazis, seriously not saying that, but you see how easy it could be for a person with little consideration for others and overconfidence in their own value to conclude that their DNA must be superior, and then get wrapped up in this kind of thinking, like Nazi thinking. Also, it helps if you grew up in an apartheid. But I'm not naming any names, all right? I'm absolutely not naming any stupid, insecure, overwhelmingly divorced names. And this creepy eugenics hogwash seems to stem from a larger ethical position known as long-termism. As the name implies, long-termism emphasizes that society should make decisions based on the long-term consequences for humanity, focusing on the lives of people generations from now, or even thousands or millions of years in the future. Okay, sure. So I assume that they think we need to prioritize the mitigation of climate change, avert nuclear war, and ensure an adequate social safety net for the long haul, right? Except it turns out that's not what they care about at all. We've talked about this before on a smaller scale because it comes up a lot when talking about tech people like Elon Musk. Invention is, as you might know, the mother of needing stuff. When Wordy McWordsmaker invented the first printing press, they weren't thinking about how to create the internet several thousands of years from then. Why would they? They were solving an immediate problem in their society. But something has broken in these tech people's brains where they keep trying to invent things based on what their own vision of the future should be, instead of what people actually need. Neuralink, Musk's monkey torturing company, claims it can eventually use brain chips to help people with disabilities, and yet, when grilled on this by a respected medical expert, Elon seems to have no idea how that would actually work.
What is happening that's allowing it to do that? Like the wires, these small wires, are stimulating these areas of the brain, and then is it that the areas of the brain are they're losing some sort of electrical force? Like what is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like think of it like a bunch of circuits, and there's some like circuits that are broken, and we can like fix those circuits. It's a substitute for those circuits.
You see, it'll shock your brain or something. That'll fix it. It's like that. It's like whatever you just said to me. You guessed, and then the answer is like, yeah, it's kind of like that. Because that, of course, isn't what Musk actually created the company for. He created Neuralink because he wants to achieve a transhuman evolution where our brains are wired into the world like a computer. Oh, we can play Tetris in our minds! Neuralink's first product isn't designed to help someone with a disability, but to let us control our smartphones with brain chips. And, do we really need that? We can already control smartphones with our voices or fingers, and there are, of course, accessibility barriers for some people regarding that. But that's not why he's doing it. He's doing it because he thinks it's like a neat little sci-fi gizmo. He's thinking about his sci-fi dream and working backwards. And because he's so hungry for that result, he's likely going to cut corners, and in fact, might end up achieving nothing beyond some fried monkey brains. That isn't to say brain chips won't happen, but it will more likely be made by somebody else who is actually focused on treating the immediate need. You know, people with brain diseases or mobility issues that would be helped by a chip. And that really sums up long-termism, the idea that we need to focus on some far-off utopian fantasy to the point that we ignore or even abuse the world right in front of us. After all, what's a few dead monkeys, or 1,500 other dead animals, or massive worker layoffs, or even a climate catastrophe, when the goal is to have space colonies and immortalize the human race? And they really do fantasize about living in space. They even have a spot picked out in the form of the collection of galaxies called the Virgo supercluster. As former long-termism adherent Emil P. Torres writes, the suffering of those living today would be minuscule compared to the potential benefit, as they see it, of having 10 to the 23rd biological humans living pleasure-filled lives throughout the Virgo supercluster. So we're clear, 10 to the 23rd is a 1 followed by 23 zeros, and so of course this all ties into the breeding fantasy. Because to them, one of the best ways to reach that utter sci-fi nonsense is to pump out a bunch of rich kids. Swedish philosopher Nick Bostrom, a major influence on the long-termists, writes of dysgenic pressures in the current world, as in undesirable characteristics that should be bred out. Quote, it is possible that advanced civilized society is dependent on there being a sufficiently large fraction of intellectually talented individuals. Currently, it seems that there is a negative correlation in some places between intellectual achievement and fertility. He goes on to say that genetic engineering is rapidly approaching the point where it will become possible to give parents the choice of endowing their offspring with genes that correlate with intellectual capacity, physical health, longevity, and other desirable traits. Always great when someone talks about desirables and undesirables. In short, these are people who watched Gattaca and completely misunderstood the message of it. I'm not editorializing, I'm not saying this just so we can show you that sick poster. Quote from that pronatalist couple, the Collinses. We are the Underground Railroad of Gattaca babies and people who want to do genetic stuff with their kids. Literally name-dropping the cautionary film Gattaca as their goal. It really can't be stressed enough how unself-aware they are about any of this, as when asked about the pro-natalist movement, Malcolm Collins told the National Post, imagine if there really were some secret cabals of rich dudes trying to just make more of themselves. Wouldn't that be outrageous and wild? Ah yes, wouldn't that be wild? These weird rich freaks want to give their offspring a major genetic edge to populate the Earth and then go infest some far-off supercluster. It's literal galaxy brain stuff that some of the wealthiest and most powerful people in the world subscribe to. Elon directly parroted the idea that rich people tend to have fewer kids, and he's given $1.5 million to Bostrom's Future of Humanity Institute, which also counts among its supporters hedge fund manager Luke Ding and secretive venture capitalist Alexander Thomas. Bostrom's papers, Existential Risks, and Astronomical Waste focus on the potential future value of humanity, and how that value is tied to technologically manipulating the human body to enhance ourselves physically and eliminate aging, if you can afford it. You come away from these papers with the unmistakable realization that those who accept this stuff don't see a ton of value in the lives currently being lived. They don't care about humanity, they care about their idea of the potential future of their chosen humanity. They think that we are, once again, NPCs in their world. In fact, the Collinses have a different term for it. They call them husks, as in, quote, "We call them a husk because when someone halts the process of creative destruction, refusing to explore, weigh, and sometimes to accept new ideas, they stop being meaningfully human, in our house's view at least." Cool quote from Demons. But to be fair and balanced, after all, if you were dealt such a statistically and probably good hand, it would be really hard not to think you were the main character, even to the point that you might start believing that you are living in a simulation just for you. We like to pretend we're talking about eccentric traits here. But how is this not a serious delusion? One that is really dangerous when you think about how much power these people have. If you got on a plane and the pilot announced that nothing mattered because everyone is living in the Matrix, you'd probably have some safety concerns. These people have, for the most part, given up on our current civilization and are preparing for the next one, which incidentally also belongs to them. For example, there's Project Eureka, a startup town the Collinses tried to raise money for during the pandemic, where all community rules would be ultimately set, all disputes resolved by them. In fact, they flat out say they don't care about poor people or improving people's baseline in order to lift everyone up. If you want to make the future better for everyone, and you could choose to dramatically increase the educational outcomes of the bottom 10% of people, or the top 0.1% of people, spoiler alert, they say choose the 0.1%. They also claim to be secular Calvinists, hopefully completely unrelated to scientific Calvinism, which is, Nazi shit, but no holding my breath on that. It seems like maybe it's like pretty much the exact same thing, and at that point it's a semantic game, so maybe that's what they're saying it is. And they do say it's not cultural or racial, but they're also concerned about demographic collapse, so a family of contradictions, I guess, is my point. It's this self-fulfilling prophecy where they think society is doomed, and in turn, they do nothing to help society, often even hurting it and showing contempt for those who make up society. And after doing their best to ruin civilization, many among the super rich are hoping to escape its collapse, preparing for doomsday scenarios by purchasing private islands or securing an underground bunker with a fully gassed up helicopter ready to go. Many rich survivalists refer to FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, as foolishly expecting meaningful aid and believe they, the venture capitalists and hedge fund managers, should be the ones who survive and rule after, take your pick. Steve Huffman, the co-founder and CEO of Reddit, credits the 1998 film Deep Impact with turning him into a doomsday prepper. His plan for a disaster is to gravitate to other people. But he phrases that by saying, quote, "Being around other people is a good thing. I also have this somewhat egotistical view that I'm a pretty good leader. I will probably be in charge, or at least not a slave when push comes to shove." Okay, so if you're not in charge, you won't be a slave. But if you are in charge, will there still be slaves? Just very interesting that he sounds kind of excited for an apocalypse and automatically assumes there will be leaders and slaves in that scenario. Winners and losers, with him, of course, being on the right side of that equation. That's what the idea of community means to him. And this knucklehead's not even a billionaire. He's worth a fucking pathetic $10 million, according to a website that makes up how much money they think people have. The doomsday prepping is a good example of the uncomfortable amount of sci-fi fantasizing among the wealthy that conveniently isolates them from disgusting commoners. Funny how that's always the end result. Elon Musk was inspired to start a whole tunnel digging company just so he personally wouldn't have to deal with traffic anymore. And as an afterthought said he'd sell his leftover dirt for poor people's houses. And of course, he has to frame it as a practical solution and not a selfish one. We often see this with all these billionaires trying to go to space, apparently just to feel something. But when asked to justify private space travel, they often give answers like this.
What would you say to those people who say that this is a misuse of resources?
Well, I can understand it, but I think maybe they're not fully educated as to what space does for Earth.
What does it do for Earth?
Well, first of all, people wouldn't be listening to this program most likely if it wasn't for space. Space, is connecting the billions of people who are not connected, you know, on telephones, on other things.
Oh, okay. So we're not educated enough to understand it. Says the guy whose big success was opening up the record store you'd go to when your mom was taking too long at Nordstrom. But what Richard Branson is pointing out is that the push for space travel, usually a government-funded situation, often creates or improves modern technology. And he's not wrong, except that's not why he's going to space, is it? His company is promoting space tourism for rich people starting at $450,000 a ticket. That magnanimous, profound explanation has nothing to do with what his space company is doing. Maybe they will make some amazing and helpful technological discoveries while trying to pump their billionaire passengers full of teenager blood, but that's not why they're doing it. Guys like Jeff Bezos try to justify this, saying that while critics of billionaire space travel are mostly right, he still thinks it's important to look to the future as a species and as a civilization. Again, they don't really know how their specific space projects will help our immediate needs in a practical way. It's just like vibes for them. In Star Trek, they're in space. Therefore, to get to a Star Trek future, we need to be in space. It doesn't matter if there are a million steps to do first or problems we have that we shouldn't be bringing to space. And of course, what that really means is that they want to be in space. They can't just say that, so they have to pretend like there's a selfless reason they're doing this. And look, I know that we're talking about the extremes here. Not all rich people are this far gone. Larry David isn't out here dreaming about injecting his essence into a cyborg body on Rigel 4, even though he's the first who should be doing that. But I think we've shown that, in general, greater wealth leads to greater self-focus and isolation from community. And as a person gets deeper in that hole, their beliefs get more and more skewed. Not towards like smartness or whatever, but towards gnarled, antisocial, anti-human dystopian beliefs. As wealth inequality widens, this is only going to get worse. And as we've already mentioned, this could happen to anyone. It's almost as if, and just stick with me on this, it's almost as if this is a health problem. It's almost as if being ridiculously wealthy does something to your brain that is bad, the same way any addiction could be bad. And while I'm not exactly saying we need to feel sorry for rich people, we do kind of need to feel some compassion for this, you know? Because that's the only way to fix it. And we do need to fix it, because this health problem affects everybody. These people are controlling our lives. These people. Are controlling our lives. Of course, I'm not exactly sure how to actually address this as a health crisis, which it is. The GOP loves to say they're concerned about people with mental health problems having access to guns, even though they don't actually care about that. But perhaps we should do the same with rich people's access to lawmakers. For example, we should overturn the enabler that is Citizens United. Democrats are already trying to do that, so I'm sure it'll happen any day now. Then maybe if they don't have as much influence, we can talk about a public health approach to the issue. Encourage the ultra-wealthy to give up most of their money and or make it harder for the super rich to passively generate more wealth. Maybe a cap on the amount of wealth they are allowed to accumulate so as to not irrevocably break their brains and our society. You know, cut them off. Maybe they've had enough. The Institute for Policy Studies says that many billionaires who pledged to give away the majority of their money were unable to do so because their assets simply grew too fast. Even Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, isn't able to give her money away fast enough, and she's donated $14 billion to more than 1,600 nonprofits in just a span of 4 years. They literally can't cure themselves of this if they try, and so they clearly need help, right? I know I'm being a little cheeky here, but considering that the other proposed alternative is that we eat the rich, this is actually quite compassionate. Like in a zombie film, you try to find a cure first, and we could still try to find a cure for the money disease that all rich people have, except for me, you know, the only good rich person, Cody Johnston. And who knows, maybe I can really turn things around for rich people everywhere by setting a good example. So what's important then is that I stay rich, obviously, as one of the good rich people. That's very important. And I owe it all to hard work, a superior brain, the beard, obviously, and of course, this Beanie Baby that I earned through, what is going on? Beanie Booze? This isn't a Beanie Baby at all. It's a worthless plush garbage doll. Oh my God, I'm ruined. Oh my God, I already bought 6 boats on my credit card. Oh, what am I gonna do? That stroller toddler tricked me, that fucker. I'm gonna sue. I'm gonna sue the toddler. I'm gonna sue the parents. I'm gonna sue the President of the United States. I'm gonna sue all of you. Then I'm gonna get a federal bailout and be fine because I'm rich and I've earned it and I'm a job creator. Okay. Crisis averted. Phew. That was close. I almost lost control there. Okay, time to celebrate with a new boat. Yes, 1 boat, please. Don't worry, folks. I figured it out. I'm gonna take all the stuff that I bought when I thought I was rich, and I'm gonna do street magic. Oh, whoa! It's a live fox I pulled out of this fucking hat. Okay. Make sure to like and subscribe so I can pay off all of my debts. And check out our patreon.com/somemore-news. We've also got a podcast called Even More News, and this show is a podcast. It's called Some More News. You can check it out if you want to listen instead of what you just did. We got a merch store with merchandise, and sometimes Warmbo is on that merchandise. Other times he's not. And although he has touched every product, so there's a little bit of Warmbo and everything. You know what? That's the end. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. We wanted to get Mark Cuban for this, and he responded to me, but he said he was too busy. So, he's interested. Next time. See you later, Mark. Who is definitely watching this. Friend of the show. Everyone shush up. Shh, shh. We're doing the news now. Yes, you in the back shush as well. Thank you. Okay, breaking news. Breaking news. Here's some more of it. It's planned obsolescence is a thing. That's the news. Look, I'm sorry I was so short with you earlier, but have you noticed that more of your clothes are getting worn out and getting holes in them more quickly? Or do you ever run out of ink in your printer and see the price of a fresh ink cartridge is around the same cost of a new printer? Do you ever wonder why your refrigerator died after 10 years of freezing Halo Top ice cream, but your hot grandma's 1930s ass fridge still keeps Doc Fudgem's Cocoa Whippledick iced milk cold? That's planned obsolescence. And I know that sounds very low stakes, but please rest assured that the episode won't just be me griping about how they don't make stuff like they used to. That said, they don't make stuff like they used to. And there's a larger implication to that, and a reason, and that is planned obsolescence. It's PO, baby! Pure PO, which is like BO in that it stinks for everybody except the person responsible for it. Also, like farts. The problem of planned obsolescence. Heck yes, the title means that we're doing an episode now about a thing that we're all aware of, perhaps consider annoying, but don't really think about enough. Or maybe you do think about it. I don't know what's in your heart. Not until my saw gets here in the mail. So, planned obsolescence is a business strategy that deliberately ensures that a product will break, become useless, or obsolete within a specific time period so it can guarantee that consumers will need replacements. This keeps demand steady so people will become repeat customers. If you've ever bought a smartphone, this probably sounds terribly familiar to you. More on that later. But that's the short definition. For the longer definition, keep watching, I guess. I mean, look at the time bar at the bottom of the video. We've got a few notes. So while the business aspect of creating demand has been around since the invention of commerce, The earliest modern aspect of planned obsolescence can be traced back to 1925. It also happens to be the most insidious conspiracy brain version ever, because prior to that year, incandescent light bulbs had a lifespan of up to 2,500 hours, or like 104 days of continuous use. And that's the average. There's currently a light bulb that's still working after being turned on in 1901. The invention was incredibly efficient. So efficient, in fact, that the light bulb companies weren't making enough money. After all, with that system, customers just needed a new light bulb around 4 times per year. And that's assuming they had it on all the time. Perhaps to ward off ghost owls, which I'm told is a big problem in New England and some parts of Canada. Anyway, light bulbs, too good, need money. So an international cartel of industry leaders was formed to, big quotes, fix that great product into a less great and more lucrative one. The Phoebus cartel was made up of incandescent light bulb companies throughout the world, including subsidiaries of General Electric, that plotted together to shorten the lifespan of the light bulb. And they succeeded. Hooray! Success! They all agreed to unimprove their products to the point that any light bulb they sold, regardless of company or country of origin, lasted only 1,000 hours. The cartel would even regularly send samples to a neutral lab to ensure that their products didn't exceed the agreed and artificial limit, and would pay fines if they dared to make a better bulb. Those restrictions were okay by them, of course, since sales from the cartel increased from 335 million to 420 million units between 1926 and 1930. Of course, the cartel was losing its grip when the members' host countries got into a bit of a spat around 1939 to 1945. Look it up. It's an event. Ask Ken Burns about it. He'll point in the right direction. But the point, which I really can't stress enough and I'm struggling to get to, is that incandescent light bulbs were purposefully manufactured to be less good so that people would have to spend more money on them. And for at least 75 years, we just accepted that until LED bulbs became popularized. We were just grifted by an entire industry for decades. Dare I say, gasp. Hey everyone, it's Cody from the future! Just wanted to pop in here to note that the light bulb cartel story, while widely reported, has also been disputed. And a 1951 report from the Monopolies and Restrictive Practices Commission claimed that the 1,000 hour limit was to balance lifespan versus wattage, at least according to representatives of these companies, who still issued fines for going over this limit, so why do that? If it's just for being more efficient, why issue the fines? Also, in that same report, they refer to the guidelines as seemingly arbitrary, and they state, when asked whether it would not be possible to market a type of lamp with a longer life in order to test whether the public in fact like it, their reply was to the effect that this was a matter on which the public could not judge and which ought to be left entirely to the manufacturer. So anyway, according to the bulb companies, they're totally innocent. Debunked! Point is, still seems a little sus, which is a phrase that came back in style in the future. Also, tomorrow's lotto numbers are 69, 69, 69, 69. That sounds fake. Okay, back to the show. Speaking of lighting bulbs, just prior to Global Spat 2, American businessmen got a light bulb over their head imagery I just invented to mean an idea, and added a new tool of planned obsolescence called creative waste. Creative waste would implant the idea to consumers that buying and replacing old and broken goods was better than fixing or upgrading them. This idea was already enticing to consumers, as WW2 provided a stronger middle class that would have no problem just using their extra disposable income to replace their current retail goods with newer models. As a result, this would bolster a stronger economy and create larger, sexier landfills. So bulgy. Later on, creative waste would go on to become the name of a grindcore band. I assume. There they are. Anyway, This idea was used in conjunction with a method dubbed consumer engineering by early 20th century advertiser Ernest Elmo Calkins. Consumer engineering is essentially creating artificial demand for products in a near-endless cycle of buying replacements just because they're new, rather than using what they already bought for as long as possible. Essentially, it's enticing consumers into buying newer versions of products that they originally purchased because of their small and often arbitrary changes. Stuff like a slimmer PlayStation, a different trim on a Honda Accord, 2 extra Zoom Air units on a Nike Pegasus shoe, extra sour corn-scented lures on your boar trap, or, of course, a new hat.
She's just a regular Malibu Stacy with a stupid cheap hat. She still embodies all the awful stereotypes she did before.
But she's got a new hat.
The Simpsons, of course, definitely knows a thing or two about consumer engineering. So Creative Waste and Consumer Engineering synergy bone with enough greed splooge to conceive and give a sloppy, gooey plop birth to the current planned obsolescence concept that we know of today. Yes, that sounded gross, but it should, because the idea itself is gross too. One deep V-necked version of this strategy comes in the form of fast fashion. Fast fashion is common practice by the majority of clothing brands to make their clothes out of cheaper materials so they wear out more quickly, while simultaneously coming up with new trends and clothing lines to get consumers to ditch their unsightly, worn-down genital coverings to get the latest off-the-shoulder dress for the fall season, or wide-legged jeans to prevent your calves from choking, or whatever the hell you flip-flops are. What are they? I don't know. You. For centuries, how we dressed was associated with social status, so the affordability and marketing of these fast fashion clothing items made us want to get the latest looks to appear cooler, more attractive, and in the now at a too-good-to-be-true price because, in fact, it is.
In the past, if you needed a new jacket, you used to go to a tailor, get measured, choose a material, and have it made. Then, for decades, instead of going to a tailor for a jacket, we went to department stores and bought things that were mass-produced. By the 80s and 90s, we had tons of options in stores to choose from. And now, many of us just kind of go online, click add to cart, and buy a product without ever seeing it in person. In order to speed up manufacturing, companies have to either hire more people, alter how the product is made, or both. But they also have to keep prices low enough for consumers to keep buying. So they may start swapping materials, like cotton or silk for a cheaper synthetic material, or rely on a more basic stitching pattern that maybe just doesn't hold as well.
Fast fashion is sometimes literally new hat. Speaking of buying items for social status, since the 1920s, the auto industry has been a huge fan of planned obsolescence. And that's kind of wild when you think about it. A $30,000 car should be one of those things you hold on to for a while, you know? But back in the day, the then CEO of General Motors, Alfred P. Sloan, noticed that children's bicycles came in different colors and shapes, causing children to beg their parents for a new bike. Sloan decided to take that mentality and apply it to cars, allegedly saying, "The changes in the new model should be so novel and attractive as to create demand and a certain amount of dissatisfaction with past models compared with the new one." He also allegedly said afterward, "Now give me that kid's bike," then immediately ate it, tires and all, which is impressive and horrifying, and true, ate the bike. I mean, look at him! He's got bike eater face! Anyway, the auto industry cranked up this strategy in the 1940s and 50s as the middle class rose, creating different trim levels at different prices while also changing the design and style of the same model each year. Due to this strategy, the length of car ownership dropped from 5 years in 1934 to just 2 years by 1955. That's according to the General Motors head of design at the time, Harley J. Earl, who then said, "When it is 1 year, we will have a perfect score." That was the ultimate goal, to sell you the same car over and over every year. Maybe with a new spoiler, additional airbags, and or navigation system, but it's overall still the same goddamn car. Again, new hat meme. So, cars, fashion, light bulbs, this is all farm league shit. After all, long after the invention of these industries, we got an exciting new way to thoroughly fleece consumers.
We shall 2024, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
Oh yeah, so revolutionary. You smash that screen, but then buy a smaller one, put it in your pocket, carry it around, and stare at it for hours every single day. But no, smash the screen! Go nuts. After all, it's probably pretty easy to repair. Unlike Apple's phones. Tech is, of course, one of the biggest offenders of planned obsolescence. In 2017, iPhone users discovered that their older phones ran slower after the latest Apple iOS update. Apple acknowledged that this was intentional, but claimed they did it so the battery on those older phones wouldn't be too taxed and shut down. Apple had to shell out $113 million for a class action lawsuit that accused the company of intentionally throttling the batteries of older phones. In 2020, Apple also settled in another multi-state class action Batterygate lawsuit for $500 million and didn't have to admit fault. As of August 2023, Apple just started to pay out that money, giving millions of people up to $90 to pay for 1/9 of a new iPhone, I guess? Now, to be fair and balanced and corporate and a little exhausted about Apple, as tech systems and the internet grow and get more advanced, then of course older tech shouldn't be expected to keep up. For example, older 3G phones just plain won't work as well as more and more 5G towers are being built. Plus, batteries do indeed wear out over time. Sure. But blindsiding your previous customers with an operating system that they knew would hinder performance or even shut down a device that was only on the market for 2 years is, in my opinion, bad. And Apple, of course, isn't the only tech company normalizing the constant upgrading to newer products and finding fun ways to squeeze their customers. But I would argue they've kind of become the worst. Remember when you could just open up one of those Power Macs and swap out whatever you please? Not so much anymore. It's all proprietary parts for a purposefully unique design. Also, you're gonna have to pay $7,000 for it. Plus, $400 if you want wheels that don't lock in place. I'm sure for locking wheels, it's a meager $300 extra. Oh yeah, look, so now available, locking wheels for just $700. Or, just buy a tower PC for the same $700 and get more or less the same thing. To be clear, the $700 you would be spending on the non-spaceship looking tower PC was originally only for the other computer's wheels. I would argue that 80% of Apple products are now just grifts aimed at very rich and unfulfilled people. After all, you don't have to get Apple computers. While these industries are intentionally making their products lower in quality or more disposable, we as consumers still have a choice, right? We can mend our clothing. We could buy a replacement battery for our weak, sluggish electronics and install it ourselves or have a tech-savvy friend do it. We could take our car to an independent mechanic or body shop to tune it up or add some amenities, whether Exhibit pimps it up or not. Is that enough setup? You know I'm building towards something for after the ad break, right? Not the Exhibit part. That was just a fun 2004 reference for me, even though I preferred the episodes when Chameleon Air hosted. So no, you can't fix your own stuff. Spoilers for after the break, which we are now going to do for yummy ads. For yummy stuff. Yummy ads for yummy stuff. Not at all weird to do ads in this video about consumerism. It's not weird to do ads at any time. You love it. And eat it. Eat the ads. Open wide, fleshy! What's up, my hot salads? It is me. People are always asking me, hey Cody, how did you get such a beautiful throat? It's true, the inside of my neck is like a silken shoot, a true velveteen hole. The answer is that I take care of my throat. For starters, when I need to take vitamins, I drink AG1 instead of throat-damaging pills. AG1 is a nutritional supplement packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and other whole food-sourced ingredients. It's perfect for when you're on the go and don't have time for full meals, or maybe you just want to give your throat a fun prize. Cheers to my throat. Oh! Hi-ya! Kapow! Right down the lustrous hatchet goes. Everyone says this about my hatch, that it's lustrous. I gave AG1 a try first for these ads, and now I drink AG1 during every shoot because it ensures I'm getting nutrition during busy work days without damaging my moneymaker. My throat moneymaker, that is. If you want to take ownership of your health, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/more news. That's drinkag1.com/more news. Check it out. After all, you're hearing this from my throat, and you love my throat. You all love my throat. You all love my throat. You all love my throat. Oh God. Oh God. I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, hope you liked those ads and they filled your consumer tum-tums. Are you good? Everything okay at home? Well, nothing I can do about that. We are back, and we were talking about planned obsolescence and how it's a strategy to keep consumers consuming through marketing of superficial features and using lower quality materials so consumers purchase replacements regularly. But surely, if something you buy is broken, if you're hard pressed and don't want to buy a new one, you can just get it fixed, right? Especially if you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a gal who can do it cheaper than the manufacturer. Or free if you have cocaine. Well, that is becoming less and less of a thing. The repairing part, I mean. Cocaine is doing fine. Let's go back to our fruit-named tech overlords. You know the ones. Good enough. So in the last segment, we discussed how in 2016, the battery on older iPhones couldn't handle an operating system update, even though some of those older phones came out less than 2 years prior to the update. So here's a question. Why can't we just, replace the battery ourselves? Most electronics feature this groundbreaking feature of batteries that go in and out. If this 90s era discrete vibrating device can take a couple of double A's and a few V's, why are our modern phones so limited? Or what about some other small issue? Couldn't you just do a little DIY and save you a trip to the Genius Bar? It's your phone after all. Well, no. In fact, French investigators, hopefully including at least one of these guys, found out that Apple made it incredibly hard to fix and replace parts of an iPhone without taking it to an Apple-accredited repair shop. A lot of this is due to the parts pairing or serialization of Apple's phones. This links a phone's serial number with the serial number of an internal part so that the phone notices whether its screen, battery, or a sensor has been replaced. So if you, let's say, wanted to replace a broken screen from your iPhone with a working screen from another iPhone, it won't work. The phone will realize the serial numbers don't match and stay shut off, or blast you with notifications telling you that your screen isn't verified. Imagine any other product you bought yelling at you like that. That's like if you bought a steak that was genetically modified to scream if you tried to cook it without A1 sauce. I fucking bought you, phone. You do what I say. Anyway, as part of a French anti-garbage law, foreshadowing, any action that limits a consumer's right to repair their own device, or that would subsequently discriminate against independent repair shops, is illegal. While the country is pressuring Apple to alter their behavior, they're being backed up by the rest of the European Union, who not only want Apple to make repairing their devices a more accessible option for consumers, but also require all smartphones to have replaceable batteries by 2027. Good idea. 1 point to the French. For people following the show, we're now at 14 points for France, 26 points for Oklahoma, 3 points for Antarctica, and of course 0 points for New Zealand. Obviously, no other countries or landmasses are in the race. So, Apple's response to all of these customer complaints and pressure from government bodies was to start the Apple Self-Service Repair Program, which would provide consumers with the parts and tools to do common repairs themselves. That's not quite what we asked for, but it is something, I guess. Let's take a look at how much it would cost for you to replace your iPhone 14 Pro Max yourself through this service. So you can go back to taking cute pictures of squirrels, pissing on gravestones for your Instagram, or whatever it is you freaks do. Angry Birds? I don't know. The regular toolkit costs $49 to rent for 7 days. For this unreasonable service, that sounds reasonable since it would cost up to $99 for Apple themselves to replace the battery for you. However, when you go for the $49 rent and fix option, they'll reportedly put a whopping $1,200 hold on your credit card if you don't return the combined 79-pound toolkit within the 7-day period. Bear in mind that the $49 doesn't include the actual Apple parts for the repair, which in this example would be just under $202 before taxes and shipping, provided you didn't trade anything in. Now you better hope that you don't lose one of those tools or that you damage any of the Apple parts while you try to repair them, as Apple is strongly against you reaching out to get a third-party part on the quick and cheap, what with that whole parts pairing thing. But in the kindness of their hearts and gorging money loins, they have technically made it easier to repair their products under their weird terms. This incredibly frustrating process was obviously made by design, so you have no choice but to go to Apple-accredited shops or to Apple themselves to get your phone's battery replaced, a service which has just recently gone up in price. But it's not just phones. Apple makes all kinds of small pieces of shit.
AirPod batteries can't be replaced because they're sealed inside. There's no putting this AirPod back together. And that's why they're essentially expensive, disposable electronics.
Apple's AirPods are even more disposable with their battery's effectiveness, lasting an average of 2 years and being absolutely impossible to replace. Again, to be fair and balanced and corporate and excruciatingly more exhausted about Apple, there are very few earbuds that can be easily refurbished. But the overall point is that Apple, that revolutionary company going against the grain, very clearly chose to make a disposable product among all their other impossible-to-repair products, designed so that they can make as much money from you as humanly possible.
So this is a MacBook Pro that the Apple Store said it cost $1,200 to fix and wasn't worth doing.
All right, let's take a look and see if that's true. Do you see the pin that's sticking out?
Okay.
So that pin is actually most likely the pin for the backlight. And as you can see, it's probably not making contact because it's bent outwards. And I got my set of tweezers over here, and I'm just gonna try to push that back and upwards. And I got my set of tweezers over here, and I'm just gonna try to push that back into the slot and try to get it back into its groove. As you can see, we've got an Apple, and we have a light.
So it fixed.
Yeah, now...
That took you like 1.5 minutes?
Maybe.
So if I walked in off the street with this problem, what would you charge for the repair you just did?
If somebody wanted me to just bend the pin back, I wouldn't charge them for that. I would say, I'm gonna rework your original cable. That may not last long term, but here, it's free. If they wanted us to replace the cable, depending on the model, anywhere from $75 to $150, depending on the difficulty of opening that model.
Think different. Think $700 wheels. So yeah, if you've ever owned an Apple product, this isn't really a big revelation to you. But it really can't be understated how egregious this one company is about controlling everything about their product for the sole purpose of squeezing their customers out of a ridiculous amount of money. They are the poster children for planned obsolescence. I haven't even mentioned their ridiculous addiction to perpetually changing and removing their ports. One more way they ensure that you have to keep buying dumb little dongles or update your hardware every few years. Of course, some good news about that coming up. And while it's subjective, I would argue that the result of all of this is a serious fall from quality over the last 2 decades. Apple used to be associated with artists, both big and struggling. Indie and big budget films were once edited on their Final Cut Pro software, which has since been downgraded into a cheap consumer app. For that reason, filmmakers who still use that software often use outdated versions of it. Final Cut Pro has, of course, devolved into a subscription-based model, which is similar for Adobe and scores of other software products. Subscription models are clearly the evolution of planned obsolescence, and actually something we're planning to do an episode about in the future. In general, though, the world of tech has been a boon to companies looking for ways to shove planned obsolescence into their products. And look no further, as we briefly discussed earlier, than the auto industry. Older cars can be taken to any mechanic for basic repair, and they could order special parts if necessary. But as more technology is being implemented into a car's design, whether it's computerized systems or materials to provide better gas mileage, it's making car repair more expensive and specialized. Your regular third-party mechanic can't help you anymore. Not because they aren't skilled, but because auto manufacturers are gatekeeping vital information and data. This creates a reliance for consumers to take their damaged vehicles to a manufacturer rather than an independent mechanic, making repairs cost more and pushing work away from those independent mechanics. This especially applies to electric vehicles. Granted, they don't need oil changes or tune-ups, and their braking technology is overall better than gas-powered cars. So on paper, they require less maintenance and repair. But EV companies, especially Tesla, are bravely proving that wrong. See, if your Tesla car needs a repair, taking it to an independent mechanic either A, likely won't work because the mechanic has no idea how to fix your issues, or B, will violate your warranty if your car gets damaged by non-authorized technicians. This means that you have to take your car to Tesla to get it fixed, and there aren't enough technicians to meet that demand. This is a problem that extends for owners of electric vehicles as well as a whole, but especially for Tesla owners since they score poorly both in quality and reliability in 2022. And that's certainly a fact. Dare I say, Tesla is quickly becoming the Apple of cars. You know, like in the way where they're designed to look slick and futuristic while failing the most basic functions. You shouldn't have to troubleshoot your fucking door handles, Elon. Go tweet about the Jews some more. That'll get the advertisers back. Anyway, self-driving will certainly make this repair issue worse. But that's a whole other episode that we are literally working on right now. And it's not just big city tech idiots feeling this hurt. This type of repair restriction impacts our small town farm idiots too. For decades, farmers had been at odds with John Deere over their tractors. The company has been in the agricultural business since 1836 and currently holds 53% of the market share on all tractors sold in the US. So they've been in the biz ever since modern agriculture grew its first crop of corn to make the first disgusting dollop of corn cream, which yes, is still under this desk, and yes, is starting to grow something that whispers. Sure, I could mop it, but it's hard, and I don't want to offend it or anger it. Farmers have been frustrated because their modern tractors are run by software and technology that only John Deere technicians are able to address and fix. And boy, are they milking non-dairy farmers out of every cent they earn.
Farms today use a tremendous amount of technology.
Deere makes claims that you only really have the license to use their software. And for someone to say they own the software pretty much takes away the whole viability of the entire tractor or piece of equipment.
Much like those film editors using outdated software, so too do farmers pay top dollar for 40-year-old tractors that, while inflated in price, would still be cheaper while being sturdy and easier to independently fix. As for John Deere, what incentive is there for them to make their tractors more accessible for farmers to fix? Per Bloomberg, John Deere's company filings in 2020 showed that parts and services made 3 to 6 times more profit for them than selling new machines. My goodness. If a company makes more money fixing their product than from the product itself, I feel like that should be considered a bad company, right? And yet this is a viable and common business strategy. Companies that not only perpetually and unnecessarily update their products and design them to be less durable, but also secure a monopoly around repairing that product. And besides the obvious fact, which I keep reminding you about, that this is all designed to squeeze us out of obscene amounts of money, there's also a less tangible loss to all of this. Think about a farmer getting up, milking the chickens, plowing the barn, eating his dog, and so on. A life that's fundamentally designed to be self-reliant, salt of the earth, dog-fearing, etc. And these people have to then bring their tractor into some fancy dealership whenever it breaks, even if it was free of charge. For a lot of people, there's a principle to this. Everyone from hobbyists to doom preppers to non-weirdos have stuff that they simply like to do by themselves for themselves, that they want to be able to do themselves. A good farmer likely prides themselves on their ability to fix anything right there on the job, just like how I can disassemble and repair this desk in under 2 minutes when there's not corn cream everywhere. Computer geeks love opening up their gaming rigs. Car perverts can't wait to build their own Pontiac fire nuts. Commune living cultists and hippies make their own clothing, and so on. We like being able to do stuff in case there's a power outage or emergency or we get bird boxed or whatever. It's really important to be able to fix stuff or build, to hunt or fish or garden. It's good that we can rely on others in a society. That's good, in this case, for $700 computer wheels. But we also like being self-reliant. We should be self-reliant, but self-reliance is also antithetical to everything corporations want. It is the opposite of this current model of capitalism. There is, of course, one other problem to this whole planned obsolescence grift, because with all these consumers buying and buying and buying, it all has to go somewhere. And I'll give you a hint. It's a smelly, ever-growing somewhere. So let's, do some more ads for stuff before coming back and presumably starting a fight club where we all live in a single dilapidated house, maybe? That's where this anti-consumerism stuff is headed, right? With the Pixies concert at the end? That'd be cool. We're certainly gonna form some kind of cult. So stay tuned to find out which kind. Hey there, what are you doing? You watching an ad right now, bro? That's like 2 minutes that you could be spending with your hamster. You love your hamster, even though your hamster isn't capable of feeling that love back. It's basically a fluffy brick. But listen, why not save some time and check out the Some More News Patreon? That's patreon.com/somemorenews. For just $5 a month, you get early access to all of our episodes, plus even more news, completely ad-free. Maybe there won't be a vacuum in the background during those episodes, but why stop there? Join our producer tier and get your name in the credits. You can use your hamster's name, even though your hamster would absolutely eat you if they had the chance. There's even a tier where you can hang out with the Some More News crew through the wonders of video communication technology. So check it out. Cut the ads out of your life and support us at patreon.com/somemorenews. Your hamster has no soul. Once again, that's patreon.com/somemorenews. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not God. And we're back. The answer was a doomsday UFO cult. We are forming a doomsday UFO cult. Please purchase the appropriate footwear. It's shoes without bottoms. Don't need to protect the bottoms of your feet in space. That's just cosmic facts. But now it's time to give you the big, unpredictable reveal of what happens to all of the products that we buy, throw out, and buy again. Are you ready for the big reveal of what happens to all the stuff we buy and throw away and buy again over and over and over and over and over again? It's trash, it's garbage, it's junk, litter, rubbish, waste, refuse, scrap, goo, scrappy doo, and according to the Mothman in my cryptid teaches you the word of the day calendar, oddments. Thank you, Mothman. May you continue to expand our vocabularies and terrorize the people of West Virginia in peace. In fact, let's do a Mothman cult instead. That's a great idea, actually. Sorry. So yeah, we're gonna do a Mothman cult instead. Please return your footwear. Okay, I'm doing the episode now. We're back in it. We produce 50 million tons of electronic waste each year, and greenhouse gas emissions from e-waste have increased 53% from 2014 to 2020. E-waste isn't just the fastest growing waste contributor globally, but only 17% of it is properly collected. The majority of this waste can contain mercury, lead, and other items that are toxic to humans if it's absorbed into the land and groundwater. But good news, if Americans raise up too much of a fuss, it can always be shipped to poorer countries. Problem poorly solved. The 80,000 people that live near the Agbogblashi dump in Ghana are subjected to conditions that saw a meteoric rise in skin ailments and chronic respiratory diseases due to the particulates in the air from the dump, and also having their food compromised due to their cattle grazing on soil that is contaminated with e-waste chemicals. These issues aren't just in Agbogblashi, but in other poorer areas of Africa too. Oh, and Asia. Since there are no legal limits to how much e-waste can be exported to Africa or Asia, these companies just do that. Not the time, monkey! Or whatever, it's fine. So why aren't we recycling? Same reason we don't recycle anything. Tech companies make it really hard for their products to be dismantled for parts to be sorted and recycled. I mean, it apparently takes a 79-pound toolkit to just remove an iPhone battery, so taking these items apart in general requires some time and effort. Electronic recycling company Total Reclaim is the largest electronics recycler in the northwestern United States, and they still struggle with the task. Between 2010 and 2015, Total Reclaim had 170 employees go through 40 million pounds of e-waste to get at lithium-ion batteries and reusable materials, but just dumped the rest of it in Hong Kong in spite of promising vendors that they wouldn't export their mercury-loaded trash overseas. Also, why didn't they make their logo look like the Total Recall logo? That's an easy win. What the f***? Even when e-waste is recycled, there are still the issues of finding safe ways to dispose of unusable materials containing cadmium, which has been linked to skeletal deformities in animals, lead, which can poison soil and groundwater, and mercury, which can damage a person's organs when they're exposed. Combined, they make a single toxic Avenger, but separate, just a bunch of sick people. Also combined, just a bunch of sick people. So, while there is an opportunity to create a circular economy with the metals found in e-waste to be used in future products, it still can't keep up with how often we dispose of our products due to this whole planned obsolescence dilly. Whether it's the companies kneecapping their products so you need to throw them out more frequently, or the e-waste companies receiving these broken products and looking for space to hold them, it's actively poisoning people for profit. And it's not just from e-waste. Let's not forget the other stuff we throw out, especially fast fashion. All in all, pollution is of course an entirely different beast with a lot of different causes to look at. But when climate change is such a growing threat, and one of the most obvious things we can do is look for sustainable practices, it's pretty fucking breathtaking how these companies are actively working against sustainability in order to make some extra money. And the thing of it all is, when you really explore the root of this problem, you inevitably have to conclude that these companies aren't necessarily doing it because they want to be doing it. In fact, you could argue that in the current system we have, they don't have another option. And this is where we travel into the dark heart of the matter, the insidious underworkings implanted into the very fabric of our society.
Whatever your food preference or tastes, Instant Pot can make family meals happen with the simple push of a button.
Absolutely chilling stuff. Also, we should probably explain. That was an ad for the Instant Pot, or Instapot if you're nasty. If you own one, you probably love it. It appeared on the market in 2010 with great reviews and decent sales, but really exploded in popularity during the pandemic in 2020, when people were stuck at home and had the time and energy to actually cook and exist like a human. Hey, we did a video about that! Media websites were riddled with articles and recipes specifically centered around Instapot. You could even make dog food in it, or, according to this article, decontaminate your N95 COVID mask. It garnered a consumer-positive reputation as a sturdy, reliable, quality-made product. And now its parent company is filing for bankruptcy. Record scratch, spit take, reverse jizz. What? Why would such a good and reliable product go broke? Because it was too well made. Seriously, according to market research, sales for Instapot and multi-cookers as a whole have gone down since Instapot's peak of popularity in 2020, with the latest numbers showing multi-cooker sales going down 20% from April 2022 to April 2023. Not because people lost interest, they just already owned one. They made a good thing, people bought that thing, and now they don't need to buy it anymore. And so this company was effectively punished for not designing a product that would fall apart in a few years. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but all the other companies we mentioned, Apple, John Deere, Tesla, fast fashion clothing companies, they're all still in business, and in fact, very successful. Because that's how the system was designed. Our capitalist system demands constant growth over and over again to keep business going and appease shareholders. So it's better for companies to make inferior products so that they have somewhere to grow from later, but not too much, too soon. Endless growth, baby, yeah! And you can see it everywhere. It's why we see endless movie sequels, reboots, remakes, and franchise tie-in TV shows that are lower in quality and rush through production year after year. It's why fast food chains keep introducing new food items, then taking them away, and then bringing them back. It's why video games put out DLC and pre-order editions. It's why there's a new Call of Duty every damn year. It's why companies lay off giant swaths of workers, either due to new growth initiatives or because they fear losing growth in an upcoming recession. There comes a point where everything has a consumer limit, but our current capitalist system won't allow that. And because of that, consumers end up paying for it over and over and over again, and our garbage grows and grows. Yeah, sorry. It's late-stage capitalism again. We'll get you one of these days. These episodes are like murder mysteries where one of the characters is Jason Voorhees. Oh, what could it be? And so there's a much larger conversation to be had here where planned obsolescence is just a symptom of a larger problem. But in terms of this specific issue, there is at least steady momentum in developing more and more right-to-repair laws throughout the world. Remember when I mentioned France's anti-waste law earlier? Well, that helped spark a movement toward the entire EU pushing for right-to-repair laws to reduce waste, including initiatives for companies to offer repairs for their products for 10 years, making all smartphone batteries easily replaceable by consumers by 2027, and a single universal charger for all mobile devices by 2024, so you don't have to buy another adapter or cable or dongle to add to your USB cable bird nest that you have in that one drawer. You know the one. I think the ghost owls sleep in that. Anyway, that's who to thank for the new iPhone 15, which is 8% lighter than the previous one. Oh boy, so different. That's who to thank for them reverting back to USB-C. As for here in the States, not so much going on. Regarding John Deere, farmers are celebrating a win after the company agreed to provide access to its diagnostic tools, manuals, product service demos, training, and seminars to farmers. But this gesture isn't legally binding, and John Deere agreed to share these things provided that the American Farm Bureau Federation doesn't support any right-to-repair legislation on a federal or state level. So, that's pretty much it for America? While even Canada is making progress, not enough people here seem to care enough, which is weird because this isn't a divisive thing. In fact, it's one of the few bipartisan issues we have left. Red or blue, 84% of Americans support right to repair. Because again, this affects both roughneck, hardworking types like a Nick Offerman character and left-leaning hippies that want to save the planet like a Nick Offerman character. On a state and federal level, several initiatives for right to repair laws have been introduced by representatives on the right and the left, especially for farm equipment, automobiles, and electronics. Earlier this year, a Republican-led, Democrat-supported Right to Equitable and Professional Auto Industry Repair Act, or the Repair Act, was introduced to Congress. Hell, even the unabashedly conservative National Review and the elitist liberal Huffington Post both support this type of legislation. It's a popular movement that any politician can glom onto to get support regardless of party affiliation. However, while there is bipartisan support, that doesn't mean there aren't any bad actors or lazy ones. In 2021, Joe Biden was praised for putting out an executive order for the FTC to crack down on companies imposing restrictions on independent repair shops and DIY repairs. Then, in 2023, he said, "Oh, except cars though, because they could be hacked." But when I say that this is a bipartisan issue that not enough people care about, the truth is that this is something that not enough people on the left care about. It's not because the left or liberals are a bunch of rich elitists who live in a big city, but rather, it's kind of that, actually. Right to repair laws are primarily seen as a rural concern, and in fact are one of the big ways that right-wing farmland types are furious with corporations. And if you're a pinko lefty soy fucker, you might want to see that as an opportunity. After all, as I already mentioned, this show often points to capitalism as a heavily flawed system in need of reform. And for moderate or right-leaning people, this is one of the most visible examples of that flawed system. So we should talk about it more. If only because it's an actual reasonable olive branch we can extend to right-leaning folks that doesn't involve, like, throwing trans people under the bus. It's a way to meet in the middle without compromising anything, without betraying or ignoring our marginalized brothers and sisters. And it's a universally accessible entry point to a larger conversation that needs to be had, whether it's for the environment or self-reliance or just the money of it all. Everyone wants this to change. And so maybe we should open it up, dick around inside, and fix it, you know? And by opening it up and fixing it, we'll see all the guts and learn what the larger problem is, like a tractor or a human body. Which reminds me, actually, why can't we perform surgery on ourselves either? All right, that is just it's one more way this capitalist healthcare doctor system is. I'm sorry, wait, I'm being told that I've gone a step too far. Okay, dialing it back. I'll save it for the cult. So, you know, keep an eye out for when my cult drops. Although, full disclosure, there will be problems with it, so I'll have to start another cult a few months later. No refunds. Just buy into the new cult. Showdyism. It's when you give me the money. What's up, f***os? How you doing, f***os? Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like it if you can, and if you're not upset that I called you f***os. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We really appreciate it. And if you do, you're not one of the f***os. You know what? No one's a f***o. Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching, friends. Like and subscribe. And check out our podcast. It's called Even More News. And you can listen to this show as a podcast if you want. It's called Some More News. It's where the podcasts are downloaded and heard. It's on the websites. Speaking of websites, check out our patreon.com/somemorenews, where you can get early episodes, ad-free stuff. You can get secret showdyism. That's too loud. It's okay for the end tag. Something about showdyism, I got distracted, so I don't remember what bit we were really doing. But make sure to check out our Patreon. And we also have merch. We got stuff on merch. Wormbo's on it. We've got other phrases and things on it. The Wormcomer character from like 5 years ago is on a shirt. And maybe we'll have some showdyism stuff. All praise Glabagul, the patron saint of showdyism. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Hey, you folk! Here's some news. Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis f***ing hate queer people. Goodbye. I'm just tickling your nuts. There is more video. We have fun here. I mean, except when we talk about crime or the IRS or racism or war, or in this episode, a horrendous removal of human rights that's being currently attempted by the GOP, who, as I said, sure seem to f***ing hate queer people. In fact, we can just go ahead and make that the title of the episode. Good title. Strong, direct, lots of E's and O's, or shoot, maybe it's more complicated than saying the entire GOP hates queer people, but also, counterpoint. Maybe it isn't. Maybe there's some conservative people out there who claim to be cool with the L's and G's and B's and T's, but if those people still support and vote for the GOP, then guess what? And if you don't think the GOP is launching a serious attack against the rights of the queer community, then double guess what? They super are. Most notably, on March 11th, a Texas judge temporarily halted statewide investigations of parents with transgender children. This was after Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered state officials to consider gender-affirming healthcare for trans youth, care like puberty blockers and hormone replacement therapy, as child abuse. The judge in question, Amy Clark Meacham, ruled that Abbott's actions were unconstitutional due to the order violating the separation of powers by impermissibly encroaching into the legislative domain. So while this ruling is unquestionably good, it's more about whether or not Abbott himself has the authority to pass legislation like this than it is any kind of official verdict on the legitimacy of trans healthcare. It's like issuing a health code violation on a deli serving human meat. And of course, this ruling is already being challenged. So it's still good for the moment, but also an extremely minor victory on a much larger and more horrifying scale, like a deli scale, built to weigh human meat. You see, despite this one order being overturned, this move is just a small part of a much larger wave of anti-trans and LGBTQ legislation sweeping across America right now. Remember that wave from Deep Impact that killed Tasha Yar? It's exactly like that, but evil. like that evil goo in Star Trek that also killed Tasha Yar. In 2022 alone, nearly 240 anti-LGBTQ bills have killed Tasha Yar. Sorry, Rule of Threes had to do it, okay. In 2022 alone, nearly 240 anti-LGBTQ bills have been proposed by state legislators so far, a huge increase from the 41 similar bills filed in 2018, and up as well from the 191 bills proposed in all of last year, a number that was so large that it had prompted some advocates to label 2021 as the worst year in recent history for queer rights. And now this year is significantly worse only 4 months in. That'll show those advocates, aha, take that! Because if the 2020s taught us anything, it's that everything can always get significantly worse if you just, wait a minute. Anyway, a great deal of these bills are wrapped in the disguise of protecting religious rights, specifically the right to discriminate against other people, effectively declaring religious rights to have priority over LGBTQ rights. In several states, we're seeing bills allowing people to deny adoption to same-sex couples. Kentucky is trying to allow government officials to refuse to acknowledge gay marriage based on their beliefs, despite being, government officials. And a handful of states are dabbling with the idea that healthcare professionals should have the right to refuse treating people based on their personal beliefs, which is just so incredibly vague and weird that it could be used to discriminate against literally anyone. And in Tennessee, they passed a law effectively forcing businesses to have a trigger warning on their doors if they happen to have co-ed toilets for, I guess, any snowflake who doesn't understand the concept of family bathrooms. Tennessee also tried and failed to pass a bill that would, quote, prohibit officials from creating, enforcing, or endorsing policies that respect or promote non-secular, self-asserted, sex-based identity narratives. And I have no fucking clue what that is supposed to mean. It's like the cloud atlas of laws. Most of these bills are so ridiculously vague and weird that they appear to ban everything and nothing, which we will certainly talk about in a bit. Not only that, but almost half of the bills put forward this year specifically target transgender people, with a large chunk of those prioritizing, or at least claiming to prioritize, the health and well-being of trans children. So today, we're gonna talk about all of these bills, what they're trying to do, about how and why they're being proposed at such a high velocity all of a sudden. Also, we might reference Cloud Atlas at least once more, maybe Jupiter ascending. We'll see how we feel. And let's start, if we have to, with the currently blocked Texas bill, which is technically the least bummer story in that it hasn't happened yet. So that's good? Sure. Okay, so the Texas order that Governor Abbott is still fighting to enact would call on both licensed professionals and members of the general public to report parents of transgender children as child abusers if those children had received gender-affirming care. Not only that, but the order came as part of a letter from Abbott to the Department of Family and Protective Services, in which he asked the department to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation into the families of any minors undergoing elective procedures for transition. Now, we've already done a whole episode on the way anti-trans advocates use the "what about the children" narrative to obfuscate their puritanical conservative attitudes towards gender and sexuality, and we would probably make a whole other video about other ways that transphobic ideology is wrong and bad. In fact, make more videos. Alright, but it bears worth repeating here. Puberty blockers are broadly reversible and cause no meaningful harm. What's more, gender-affirming care, including puberty blockers as well as hormone replacement therapy and gender confirmation surgery, is shown to noticeably improve quality of life and decrease depression and suicidal ideation in trans adolescents. And, most importantly, being transgender isn't a problem we need to prevent or fix, and parents trying to affirm their children's identity aren't being abusive, Greg, you fucking Gumby. According to the failing New York Times, Abbott's order managed to sow chaos and confusion amongst trans families and their medical providers before it was temporarily halted. Dr. Megan Mooney, a licensed psychologist whose clients include transgender children, as well as a plaintiff in the case to halt the order, testified to there being outright panic as the order caused children and their families to fear for their safety and forced medical professionals to choose between their legal duties and moral obligations. One mother, an employee of Texas's Family Protection Agency, who showed up to court in goddamn disguise, testified to being terrified for her trans daughter's health and well-being, And Rio Grande Valley resident Adamales Vigil told the Texas Tribune that her 13-year-old trans daughter Adeline is so terrified she will be forcibly separated from her mother that she doesn't even want to sleep in her own bed. Because in Texas, being found guilty of child abuse can come with a first-degree felony conviction and up to 100 years in prison and or a fine of $10,000, which seems pretty problematic when you start defining child abuse as stuff I don't like. Seems bad. Yeah, it says so right here, it's bad. Not to mention, of course, that it also means having your child taken away from you by the state and presumably prevented from continuing the often life-saving processes of hormone replacement therapy and gender confirmation surgeries. And so when this potential law causes a wave of panic and fear from the people it claims to protect, you kind of have to wonder if it's perhaps not at all actually a law designed to protect those people. Maybe it's a bad shitty law aimed at pleasing a base of voters who simply don't like transgender people, all at the expense of kids and parents who just want to live their lives.
Well, you would notice I have 3 thriving children. The issues we're facing right now are not things that we have to deal with on a regular basis. My daughter she loves riding her bike, she loves swimming, she loves hanging out with her friends, playing Pokemon Go. All the things that you would expect from a 12-year-old who's happy. And you'll have to forgive me because it's pretty hard for me to talk about this without tearing up because it's just been such an awful couple of weeks.
Can you imagine being a parent suddenly told by the state that you might have your happy and healthy kids taken away from you because a group of politicians decided that your existence is wrong and bad? It's honestly Sisypheanly hard to express just how intentionally cruel and dishonest this ongoing conservative attempt to over trans kids and their families is. But of course, here at Cody's Shody, we love nothing more than pushing huge rocks up various hills and inclines, as well as talking about the hit film Jupiter Ascending, out now in 2015. On top of everything we've already mentioned, Abbott's order was prompted by a non-binding legal opinion from Attorney General Ken Paxton, released only a few days earlier, in which Paxton argued that gender-affirming care constitutes child abuse. The opinion is, unsurprisingly, full of shit. Not only does Paxton claim that care widely accepted by leading healthcare groups like puberty blockers are abusive, but he also cites as examples things like body modification surgery, a process which is rarely, if ever, performed on children. Paxton's opinion statement has been criticized alongside Abbott's directive by various medical and human rights organizations, including the Endocrine Society, an international medical organization for the field of endocrinology, which said the conservative argument rejects evidence-based transgender medical care. But of course, this isn't about evidence, nor is it about actually getting these laws through. By doing this, they are sending a signal to both their base, but especially to parents of trans kids, that by allowing your child to pursue their own personal happiness, the government is going to make their lives as hard as possible. Because the GOP loves interfering with the lives of families, right? It's like their motto says, tread on me harder, big government, P.S. we hate families. Seems long, but, that's the grand old party we know and tolerate. See, while Paxton's statement was non-binding and Abbott's order is currently blocked, that doesn't mean their words don't have weight and impact when they come from important elected officials. And like we said before, Abbott's order was only blocked on the grounds that it was an overreach of the executive branch, not on the grounds that it was evil and dishonest, because apparently morality is subjective and a functioning democratic system can't base its legislative process on how good or evil a law is because that's just not how it works, or something. I don't know. I refuse to read a book. Or can't read, except for the teleprompter, which reads, "The point is, while it kicks absolute ass that Judge Meacham told Abbott to shut the f*** up, you awful piece of shit, all it would take to actually pass legislation that does the same thing as Abbott's order would be for enough Texas legislators to believe the same hateful lies that Abbott and Paxton believe. And unfortunately, the only way to stop that from happening is to use that same legislative system to pass bills that explicitly protect trans people and permanently enshrine their rights into law. So, phew, good thing the legislative process is in this country are simple and fast acting, right? Right. Okay. Moving on from the good news. How is the good news? Jesus frogs. All right. Well, here's some worse news. On March 28th, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, yuck, 0 stars, signed into law Bill HB 1557, Parental Rights in Education Act, or as virtually everyone has decided to call it, the Don't Say Gay Bill. In its preamble, HB 1557 claims that one of its goals is to prohibit classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels or in a specified manner. The precise wording in the law later states, again, exact quote, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. The bill goes on to give parents the ability to sue a school district if they believe this law has been violated, stating, if a concern is not resolved by the school district, a parent may bring an action against the school district to obtain a declaratory judgment that the school district procedure or practice violates this paragraph and seek injunctive relief. A court may award damages and shall award reasonable attorney fees and court costs to a parent who receives declaratory or injunctive relief. I want to be crystal clear with the text of this law, because one of the extremely baby-brained responses from the right has been to either smugly declare that the bill doesn't literally say the word gay, or to simply deny the bill is aimed at teachers talking about being gay. Some have pointed out that while they use the word discussion in the preamble, the law itself swaps that for instruction, as if that somehow makes it better. However, as one law expert pointed out, courts will often look at the preamble of a law to help them interpret the enforcement of it. Not to mention the extremely broad wording in all of this. Does it count as instruction for a teacher to explain what a same-sex marriage is? That's technically instructing kids how to get gay married. And did you notice that this prohibits teachers from instructions for kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards? And again, as legal experts have pointed out, this law doesn't list what those state standards are, nor what counts as age appropriate. It's vague and weird and seems to leave it up to the parents to decide. And if you have a parent like, I don't know, black conservative Ben Shapiro, who accused body bags Mark Hamill of indoctrinating children by simply spamming the word gay over and over again, well then things get a bit subjective. This doesn't mean that a parent would win a legal battle, but much like Texas's anyone can sue someone for getting an abortion or driving someone to get an abortion law, it's clearly designed to gunk up the system. Because even if a parent's complaint is unwarranted and ultimately loses, it creates a climate where schools and teachers won't want to risk triggering an intentionally vague law for snowflakes that would damage reputations and careers. Just like that Texas trans law, it's designed to send a message to certain people that by supporting LGBTQ kids, they are going to make their lives very difficult. And thanks to the colossal vagueness of it all, the supporters have the added bonus of standing back and acting like supreme logic kings, pretending that their bill is actually not exactly what it seems like.
I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill because you are pushing false narratives. It doesn't matter what critics say. For who? For grades pre-K through 3. So 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And the idea that you wouldn't be honest about that and tell people what it actually says, it's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. And so we disabuse you of those narratives. And we're going to make sure that parents are able to send their kid to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum.
Checkmate, libs! We sunk your battleship! Uno! Cloud Atlas! Hey, Ron! When you say stuff injected into curriculums, just what are you talking about exactly? If it's not trying to ban teachers from saying gay, what is it trying to ban then? Well, let's dig into that. After a few ads, we love ads just like we love you. And so to deny these ads, you're also denying our love for you. So think about that for a second while these ads play.
Hello, hello, yes, it is me, beloved child star Katie Stoll. You know, when I was working on the hit TV series My Father is a Basket of Snakes, we had a lot of downtime thanks to the tremendous amount of on-set accidents. And if you have a lot of downtime at your job, maybe you should check out the mobile game Best Fiends. It's a casual puzzle game aimed at adults who perhaps need a breather while waiting for their shift to end, or for a team of grips to wrangle 300 loose snakes, or for just, you know, any situation where you need to kill some time. Best Fiends is free to download and offers thousands of levels for new challenges every time you play, not to mention an offline mode so you can fiend whether you're at home or stranded in the desert because a cobra bit your director and everyone left you behind while he was rushed off to the hospital. There are dozens of unique characters to collect and customize and power up, and brand new events that pop up all year round. So try it out, why don't ya? You've earned your fun time. So just go to the App Store or Google Play to download Best Fiends for free. Plus, earn even more with $5 worth of in-game rewards when you reach level 5. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. It's like the popular catchphrase I always used to say. Watch out! My father is a basket of snakes, so don't get too close because he's snakes!
Hey there, are you tired? Maybe you haven't been getting much sleep because your upstairs neighbor hosts improv classes at 6 in the morning. Well, then you need some coffee, my friend.